Hello, everyone. You're with Global Voice 2012, and what a glorious day today is. The weather couldn't be any better here. Of course, we're bracing for a possible hurricane in a few days, but I'd like to welcome everyone today. I think we have a very exciting program. Today is Sunday, the 26th of August. We have some very special guests, and with that, I need to make a couple of quick announcements. We would like to ask our callers that are calling in to, if you are not one of our scheduled guests for today or speakers, if you could please press the number 1 and lower your hand until we gather today's guests. And then we will, when we start taking questions a little later in the program, you can press 1 again to raise your hand. But so that we can gather our several speakers that we have for today, we would ask that if you're simply calling in to listen and expect to be asking a question, if you will please press the number 1 for right now so that we can gather those callers. Also, I would like to say that we do have several special guests today. We have Mrs. Jan Dyer. She is the mother of Charles Dyer. Rick Light will be having a discussion about the Charles Dyer case. And in addition, we will have Amelia Foxwell, Darren Wilburn, Nancy Genevieve, and Shane Sheffield are expected to call in. And I also would like to thank Joanne Moretti and JoJo Norton. They are en route to Tampa right now to the Republican National Convention, and they are going to be covering the whole story and asking some hard-hitting questions. And we will be in constant contact with them. And I want to thank them and tell them to have a safe journey. And we will be sharing on our Facebook page as well as Drake's page and the Global Voice US page if we have any live news that we're going to be broadcasting relating to that or important news. Welcome, Drake. Welcome, Grammy J. And welcome, Minuteman. Glad to have all of you with us today again.
Thank you.
Hello. Thanks.
Welcome, welcome. I think we have a really exciting show planned for today. Rick, I will tell you that so far it looks like we only have one of our guests in addition that has called in, and that would be Amelia. We have not yet heard from Jan. So.
Well, I imagine she'll be calling in. She thought she had the right number. We had to give her the number, so she might be a little on the what you call slow side of getting in, but I'm sure she'll be
okay.
here.
Well, I would also like to thank Kimberly. You all will remember Kimberly. Kimberly helped me when we first started on Blog Talk Radio, and Kimberly is screening calls and gathering those calls for me right now. I would also like to announce that Paul Beener has once again stepped up to the plate, and we are simulcasting on Global Voice Radio Network, and that is, the link is available on our Facebook page. It's through Spreaker. If you are having any difficulties with the Blog Talk player. So, that being said, Drake, do you have some starting announcements? And how about I let you know, Rick, when we have our primary callers ready to go ahead?
Okay.
Okay.
Right.
And meanwhile, Drake, welcome.
Thank you. There's been a lot of discussion all the way around as to what's going on. Today's show combines several of those aspects. It combines what can be done, the possibilities that lie beyond that, and the ideal that it doesn't matter if you're next door or down the road a piece. What matters is all of us pulling together and going the same direction. The ideology, the basis of all of it, everything we do, goes toward freedom. And that's for everybody. The responsibilities, duties, and all of the things that go with it might be able to be picked up in this show today. At least I'm hoping so. Now, Rick's been integrally involved, and I mean up to his whatevers in what he's going to present. And I followed it, looked at it. Rick and I have talked about some of it, and so I got a little bit base knowledge, not near all of it. Now, some people have taken the tack of being fully disagreeable with everything we do. That's fine. You go be disagreeable all you want. The crux of this is this. We want to do this right so that we can get her done as cleanly as possible. Part of that is some of the things that have been going on. Some people are being sued. Some people are being taken to task on a legal basis. Some people are getting arrested by the wrong people for the wrong reasons. And there's a pretty much mess out there right now. Nobody knows which way to jump. Oh, my goodness. Are they going to come get us? Oh, my goodness. Everybody's on our side. My goodness gracious, how do you figure that mess out? Well, maybe this show today will offer a little clarity to some of those things. Most people are not familiar with what is done, what we do, and some of the actions we take. And that's one of the reasons for what this show entails today. And I know that we do have some time limits. So, Rick, I'll let you take her away, man.
All right. Well, as we know, folks, some of our veterans, well, they're just kind of disappearing. And they're being falsely prosecuted under pretext of some laws, thrown into mental institutions because, well, they don't agree with what they're seeing going on in our nation today, which is fine. I mean, look, folks, we can't allow our First Amendment right to be squandered and used against us and have our military veterans done the way they're being done. I mean, we're starting to find out that there's a lot of states that have been grabbing our veteran boys because they don't answer some questions right when they're at the VA hospitals. They speak out against the government. You know, they have a right to do that. And I think Brandon Robb's case is going to swing a lot of light into this particular subject. And we want everybody to know we stand with our veterans. They served our nation. They put their lives on the line. Doesn't matter whether or not we agree with the wars that are sent to, folks. They said they would do it, and they done what they was asked to do. Then they get back over here, only to be treated poorly by the very government that put them in the war. This stuff isn't right. The reason why we're going to discuss Charles Dyer today is because Charles Dyer was one of the first cases that came up that Charles spoke out against the government. He didn't like what he seen going on. He served 8 years. He was an honorable Marine. Never had an issue with the law in his life. And Charles Dyer found himself in a peculiar situation when he spoke up. Well, he was first charged with some weapons problems, which he beat that in federal court. And then he was charged with sexually assaulting his daughter. And I know Charles Dyer personally. I've known him for quite some time. I've known Charles for about 4 total years now. This honorable Marine is a good-hearted man. He would never harm a child, much less his own. I painfully stood with Charles through this whole ordeal that he dealt with, as his mom will explain. It entailed a lot, too. I've been in the middle of possible standoffs because they were going to come and abridge Charles's right, and he stood his ground, told them, no, you're not going to do that. And I had to get involved with this stuff in order to keep the peace between the two. And we successfully did that. And during this trip along the way, we started to discover that it didn't matter what kind of evidence Charles had in his favor to prove his innocence. Well, it was going to get shut down. There was 2 mistrials. I was at each trial. The first trial that was a mistrial, I didn't make it till the deliberations. We had a few mechanical problems that we had to get dealt with our vehicle, but I made it there. The second trial was a mistrial on default. Looked like the district attorney did something they wasn't supposed to with the letter, sent it out to the jurors, so they mistried the case then. The third trial was the most painful of all, because I got to be there at the very beginning. And what I witnessed happen to Charles Dyer is something to this day I have trouble realizing what I saw. I watched a DA and a judge continuously deny Charles's evidence that proved his innocence. As soon as the prosecution would object, the judge would automatically sustain. This is going to be shown in the details of the trial when they finally make it out to the public.
Excuse me, Rick.
Yes.
It's my honor to announce that we do have Mrs. Dyer, and we have Amelia, and we also have Mr. Wilburn. Let's see, Miss Jen, Mr. Sheffield. It doesn't look like, but I would be happy to open.
Here in just a couple minutes, I want to bring in Mrs. Dyer. I want to explain to some of our listeners what I saw happen to Charles, and I'm sure his mother will explain even more.
Okay, thank you, Rick.
You're welcome. Anyway, folks, we watched the court system basically sentence Charles Dyer to 30 years on hearsay with no evidence against him. Now, I want you to imagine that. This has not only been a painful ordeal for Mrs. Dyer and her family, but an extremely painful one for his friends as well. We developed a support team, folks, that done what Mrs. Dyer wanted us to do, no more, no less. Some of us, well, we gathered the information from Mrs. Dyer the best we could. We worked our butts off for 2 years trying to help Mrs. Dyer clear her son. But nothing we could do would make any difference in the long run because, well, they were going to have their way with Charles Dyer, and it didn't matter what evidence was there, anything. So they just railroaded him into 30 years. Well, along the way, as we know, there's always the rumors and everything that comes up at the end. People get emotional and they're looking for someone to blame. Well, me and the support team kind of fell victim to a bunch of rumors and lies, which I'm sure Mrs. Dyer is going to address today. So y'all do know the truth. I want to make sure everybody knows we're not going to have a bashing session today. There will be no names mentioned. We're going to stick to the issues. The support team is here to merely just tell you their side of what they did for Mrs. Dyer. Mrs. Dyer is going to go ahead and she's going to tell you the specifics of her son the best she can and what time she's got. And she's also going to ask you for support. And I really hope our listeners climb on board, folks. These are our veterans. They served our nation. They deserve better than this. This is a very important issue. And it ain't just Charles Dyer that's suffering right now. We got a lot of veterans in trouble, folks. And with all that being said, if Mama Dyer, Jan Dyer, is with us, folks, I call her Mama Dyer. We gotten quite close through all this because I did stay with Dyers as the trials went on. I'd like to bring Mama Dyer in and let her have the floor so she can explain to people, well, what happened to her son.
Mrs. Dyer, your microphone is live, and I will apologize. I'm going to have to mute Grammy and myself. Blog Talk Radio doesn't like it when you have more than 3 or 4, 5 at the most mics open at the same time. So until we are done, I'm going to have to, mute out Grammy and Drake. I don't know. You might want to add in, so I will leave your mic live.
Okay.
Okay.
We got you, Denise.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, Mrs. Dyer, welcome to our program today. We are pleased and honored to have you with us.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm pleased and honored to be here.
Thank you so much for coming. Okay, Rick, go ahead.
Well, Mama Dyer, I want you to take the floor. This is your time. Explain to the audience what happened to your son and, well, a little bit about those rumors and lies that we hear about on the Internet, if you would, please.
Okay, an overall view of what has happened when he was in the Corps. He made some videos. Everyone, I'm sure, is aware of the YouTube videos. It clicked to the FBI that he was on the YouTube, and what he said is nothing more than you ever heard Sarah Palin and all of the others that were out there running for office say. But coming from him, it seemed to be different. He had originally worked with, but not a member of, the Oath Keepers. He did some speeches for them, but not as one. He has never actually been a member of the Oath Keepers. He does believe in everything that they believe in. But before he got out of the military, like he was supposed to be out in 2 weeks, had plans on coming back, there was a phone call received by his commanding officer from his wife's brother. And he was trying to get him served with an Article 128 and an Article 134, which was statements against the government and spousal abuse. He was put on a hold and was required to stay in his room at the barracks, confined. They did look at every video he made, looked at all of the charges, went thoroughly through, and the Marine Corps totally exonerated him of all charges. And he was allowed to leave. And there is not even a write-up in his DD-214 discharge papers. He has 2 total clean 4-year service records. He got his truck, his U-Haul, put all of his worldly belongings in them, and came home. While he was home, he and his wife filed for divorce because he found that she had been dating others, which she had already done at one point between his 2 stints of service. And she admitted to having used drugs, etc. So they filed for divorce, and the reason for the divorce was, at that point, adultery. And it went to the court. The court decided that it wasn't on the right paperwork at that time, so they could not grant this divorce. So he went back to California. He had met Amanda at some point during his service because her husband was in the same unit that he was. He was abusive. Charles stopped the abuse, and they divorced. Took them a long time to get their divorce, but it is now final. And when he moved back to Oklahoma, she came with him. They moved in December, early December of 2009. His daughter stayed with them on every weekend and then stayed with them during the holidays for Christmas. Everything seemed to be fine. However, he had had a problem before being able to see his daughter. He called his wife, and she said he could not see his daughter. Well, he thought, wonder what kind of charges she's filed this time. So he goes down to the sheriff's office on January 12th. When he gets there to see if there are any charges that she's decided to come up with this time, they arrested him on child abuse, child rape. Apparently, she had, when the child went back on January 3rd after the holiday, asked the daughter during a bath time, and the daughter said that her bobo hurt. Did Daddy do anything to you? With no actual reason for asking that, the daughter actually testified she didn't know why Mama asked her that, but she did. So, this was on a Sunday night. School started on Monday. So, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, she sends the child to school. On Friday, she takes the child out of school and goes to the Department of Human Services, Child Protective, and tries to make a claim, which they did not accept. They said there was not enough evidence. So she went to Women's Haven, who called the police department in. They said they did not have jurisdiction because this apparently happened in the county. So they called the county sheriff's office. The sheriff's office ran with it and filed charges. They also, this was on the 8th, this was on a Friday. They also put an order of protection against Charles. On Saturday, Charles, Amanda, her daughter, Charles's dad, and I all went goofing around on a Saturday and ended up eating at a cafe that was like 30 miles from home. During which time Charles got a phone call from her saying, I will be at your house in 30 minutes and I want $100. I need it. He told her he could not get there in 30 minutes. She hung up the phone, and that's all we knew. This was on the Saturday before he was arrested. We come home, all goes fine until he decides to go down to see about his daughter. And when he's arrested, she had already had a protective order, which she broke by calling him and saying she was going to come over. Well, it rocked around that during the search for DNA evidence, for which they did have a warrant, they found some weapons that they weren't sure what they were. The weapons charges have now been cleared, but he was in jail under federal arrest warrant. It went through a federal trial. It was all cleared. Then he was rearrested for the child rape. And that's where we're at now. We went through a court trial that ended in a hung jury. The next trial was a mistrial for prosecutorial misconduct. They had sent out questionnaires to jurors that were not released yet. Then we went through a third trial, and in between the second and the third trial, Charles's house was burned. And 2 people have been arrested and have pled to burning his house. He ran. When he ran, I had no idea what to do because I didn't know where he was, who he was with, when he'd be back, if they were going to kill him if they found him. There was a big thing through the FBI. They said they had nothing to do with this case and told us that continually throughout it. Yet they were going to people all over the United States, family and friends, trying to convince everybody that he was guilty. And I called Rick, and I said, is there anything you can do? So Rick took off and went down to where they thought he was, so that if they had any idea where he was, Rick might find him first and bring him in peacefully and have a witness as to what had happened. So, like I say, I knew nowhere else to turn. And Rick kept me up on where he was and what he was doing and how things were going. They even had electronic billboards up all the way to Tennessee. They had 13 of them. They even had one in Mexico. One of them was right beside the hospital, one of the 3 hospitals that our daughter was doing she was over a group of hospitalists. So she saw it every time she went to work. And, of course, that was really good for her. Then while he was gone, they called our daughter's oldest child in and told her that Charles had molested her when she was little. If she didn't remember it, that was okay because she was asleep. Well, there are 2.5 years difference in these two. He is 2.5 years older than her. She moved from where we live when she was 7, and they really haven't been together that much since then, but they had it under good authority. She told them that they were crazy and that she knew where that information came from, that it was his ex-wife, and she was crazy. So, and walked out of their office. They have admitted to having called her in, and they thought that it just needed to be told. Now, they had no proof, but it needed to be told. They have gone from one person to the other with the DNA evidence. Now, the DNA evidence had been collected. It showed that the daughter had been nowhere. It clears him. But they have not allowed all of that to be actually told in court. He was supposed to have a polygraph. It was set up. It was paid for by the family. That cost us $640. The guy came down from Oklahoma City. They set it up where the judge said to set it up at. The FBI was there for some reason that day. No idea why. Anyway, they talked to Charles before this. Then they started the polygraph, got through the first section, which was an interview. The judge came in and stopped it, said they had to go downstairs to the sheriff's office to continue it. They go downstairs and are not able to have a room to do it in. It has never been done yet. It has been one thing after another, after another, after another. They allowed us to bring the uncle who is in jail right now for failure to register. He has been convicted 3 times of either lewd molestation or showing himself or whatever. And after we brought him back, they disallowed us to use him in the trial or even mention him because the child said, I've never been alone with him. However, he lived with the child's grandmother and was there. She was there after school there's no telling whether she was ever alone with him or not. However, that was out. There is a child video. They did take the child on the Monday after Charles was arrested and had a video done. The video was confusing at best. However, it was used in court, and if you just look at it, not knowing anything about the situation, it is a damning video. However, if you look at it and you know the situation, you know the logistics of the house, there is no way the things that she said happened could have happened. She also said it happened at our house when he was here before, when he went back out to California to be with Mandy. There is no way that it could have happened here, and there is no evidence. However, that was used. He had a tent set up because that's where he liked to stay, out on the property. They say that it happened out there. She was never alone with him out there. Could not have happened. But that was not allowed either. There are so many things that they have twisted and turned that the evidence proves he did not do it, but I don't know how they twisted and tossed and turned with it, but they did. And he was convicted and given 30 years, for which he has an appeal right now. And he is asking that anyone that would like to help him research, he's having to write his own briefs. He has a court-appointed attorney at this point because we have spent over $100,000 and cannot spend any more. And during his sentencing, the assistant district attorney tried to get him to not use a court-appointed. He said that he thought his family, since they had already paid for attorneys in the past, should either sell or mortgage their property and pay for another one, and asked Charles if he thought we wouldn't be willing to do that. Charles said, I don't know. Why don't you ask them? I was in the courtroom, but I was never approached. The judge went ahead and declared him indigent, and this is where we are right now. The attorneys have so many cases that they have asked Charles to write his own brief. And Charles is much more than willing and knowledgeable, and he is doing so right now. But he does need some assistance with research, and anyone that would like to research, Rick can tell you how to get a hold of him. You write him a letter, he will write you back and tell you what he needs. We also need assistance. If anyone knows of an attorney that would take this as pro bono, that is not just court-appointed, that actually cares about our vets, actually cares about innocence, we are more than willing to talk to them and give them whatever information they need. I have everything that they could possibly want. After August 4th, I should have the transcripts for this last trial. I am still trying to find the transcripts from the first trial. I have all of it except the closing arguments and the jury instructions. And the gal that did that has now quit doing court reporting and working for a company and is out of the country quite a bit, so I'm having a problem trying to get a hold of her and get those. But that's where we stand right now. It's sort of a quick overview. And if anybody has any questions, go for it, because I don't know where you want to go from here.
Mrs. Dyer, excuse me real quick, Rick. Mrs. Dyer, I want to thank you so very much. And I want to offer that we have thousands of listeners and members in the Global Voice 2012. And I do know that we do have a number of attorneys. And I will ask if they're listening, if there's anyone who wants to help you can email us at onefreepeople@gmail.com with the subject Charles Dyer, and we will route the information to Mrs. Dyer and or Rick and or through Drake, and if we have any of our members that can help the situation, please send it with the topic Charles Dyer, D-Y-E-R, and we'll get it to the proper person.
Okay,
So
you
go
may
ahead.
also send it to Nancy Genovese if you'd like, because
okay.
she knows everything about this case also.
Okay, Nancy Genovese.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, do we know her email address?
We can get that information, and we'll post it in a post in the Global Voice group.
Okay, great. Now, I do have Amelia and I have Darren Wilburn on the phone. We have not heard from Nancy or Shane as of yet. Would you like me to open their microphones, Rick?
Yes, please do.
Okay, and Mrs. Dyer, once again, thank you very much.
Well, I may not be able to stay with you through the whole thing because I am working today.
Okay.
And
okay,
I do
honey.
medical transcription, which does not bring me in a whole lot of money.
Okay, honey. Well, I will probably have to mute you so that we
That's
have enough
fine.
available mics
That's
at
great.
this point. But I want to thank you, and we all at Global Voice thank you for coming on and sharing your story, and our hearts and prayers are with you, Mrs. Dyer.
Well, I appreciate it. God has been with us so far, or we would not have been able to do this. I just turned 70. My
bless
husband
your
just
heart.
turned 75. And I have made the statement, and I will tell you this. We lost a child about 37 years ago, and he was 3 days old. It was a devastating thing to our family. Since then, I decided to become a registered nurse because of that, so that I could help other people. I have now retired from nursing. I am doing medical transcription, but I have retired from nursing. But this is worse than losing a child. To know you have an innocent child behind bars, it is a living death.
Oh gosh. I will tell you, Mrs. Dyer, that and Amelia, welcome to our program, and Darren Wilburn. Your mics are open. You are free to speak, and I would like to welcome you both to our program this afternoon.
Okay. Thank you very much, and you can mute. I'll listen as long as I can.
Thank you so much again, Mrs. Dyer. Okay, Rick, we have Amelia and Darren with you.
Yeah, good. Look, folks, I want to introduce Amelia Foxwell and Darren Byrne. They were key people in helping Mama with a lot of information. Actually helped get a lawyer for Charles. We know that lawyer didn't do as much good at the end, but bless their hearts, they took their time and their efforts. And I know there's a little controversy over something Amelia was heard saying on a video, and I want to make sure our listeners understand that Amelia never said those things on that video without talking to me first, folks. Look, Charles Dyer's life was on the line. We had to get a hold of the people we could get a hold of, no matter who they was, in order to find the information that we needed to find Charles before the SWAT team did. Bear in mind, the SWAT team raided a campground. They weren't joking around. They were out for blood and guts. There was no doubt about that. Matter of fact, Amelia had a lady at the campground that stepped forward to tell the story about that. Our brother's life was on the line. We knew they'd kill him if they could. So we done what we had to do, folks, in conjunction as a team to find our brother Charles, to make sure that he came to one of us first before the SWAT teams found him and put him into a situation that could have got him killed. So I want everybody to know that Amelia Foxwell never betrayed me. She never talked behind my back. Matter of fact, that was a painful thing Amelia had to do, was to talk to that particular person. And we had discussed it beforehand, and I told Amelia, you do what you got to do. We got to find our brother Charles, and Amelia agreed. So she talked to that person. That person recorded the conversation. That is the conversation you'll hear. And Amelia, I'd like to bring you in. You on?
I'm here.
How you doing, sister?
Good. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Kind of go into some of the procedures that you and Darren did, if you would, Amelia, so people know that, you know, what your role was in this, and kind of give them a view of the things you and Darren done for Charles and his mother.
Alrighty. Well, I had, about 2 years ago, I had some producers from MTV contact me and say that they wanted to do a real-life documentary on somebody in the militia movement. And I called you and said, hey, I got to make a trip and bring a camera crew with me, and I want to come visit you in Texas. And I remember you said, you know, I've got my brother Charles Dyer in Oklahoma who could really use some media attention, and why don't you take him to go meet him? And so I set it all up, and we went out and met Charles and spent a couple days with him and met his mom and his dad. And I came home and I wrote an article for Human Events and Guns and Patriots about Charles and about his court case and all of the things that he was going through. And then I went back and forth with Charles a few times, called him, gave him lists of pro bono lawyers in Oklahoma, and a few different resources that I came across. We got a chip in from Nancy and put it on the article and tried to get some money donated to them to make up for some of their legal costs. And Darren started talking to Charles, trying to help him through, you know, what he was going through, and through everybody in his town chastising him and treating him like he was a monster because of his crazy ex-wife's allegations. And then next thing we know, Charles has run. And we were all really scared that he was going to get gunned down. You know, everybody in America right now understands that SWAT teams kill people. That's what they do. They don't arrest people. They kill people. And more often than not, if you've got a guy who's listed as armed and dangerous, which he was listed as, and you've got a bunch of jacked up, egomaniacal people with guns and a grudge hunting him, like SWAT or FBI or whoever thought he was a monster, things generally don't wind up well. And we were all really scared that, you know, we were all really upset that he had run and put himself in this position. You know, I was horrified for his family to have to go through this. And I personally was really upset that he had run and that he had done this to his mother and to his father and his sister, and, you know, put all of them in such a state of hysteria for a week or more, to worry about whether or not he was going to get gunned down, whether they were going to get a phone call or watch the news and hear that he had been shot. And Darren, during this time, was in contact with Jan a lot, and Jan said, you know, there's this woman who I'm pretty sure knows where he is. And Darren got her contact information and called her and said, you know, we want to get a message to Charles that we have contacted a lawyer who is a pretty high-profile guy who's done a lot of high-profile cases, and if he contacts us, we will put him in contact with this lawyer who will work to do his best to make sure that he comes in safely and he does not get executed by a SWAT team. And that was our goal. You know, our goal was to try to get a message to him that we had found a way that he could probably get in safe. You know, if you run and you don't get over the border, at some point you're going to get shot and gunned down. And that's just how things go. And everyone that cares about Charles or that cares about his family was just concerned with trying to get him turned in safely without being shot. You know, the illusion that you can run from the law and stay hidden forever is bullshit movie stuff. You know, it doesn't happen that way. That is not real life. People get shot when they run. You know, it took us a million years to get bin Laden, but we got him. And that's, you know, when people run, everyone assumes they're guilty. And then when they get shot, everybody says, oh, it was a bad guy that got shot. And we wanted to make sure that Charles got his day in court to exonerate himself and to prove himself innocent, and that he lives a long, happy life. So when Darren got this woman's contact information, he came to me and said, you're going to have to talk to this woman. And you're going to have to convince her that you agree with her and you believe her and whatever, so that we can get this message to Charles. And I remember calling you at that point and saying, you know, I know you've had history with this person, and I know that she's crazy, and, you know, this is the deal. This is the only thing that we can figure out to do to get handled safely to get to the point where maybe we can get this chick to relay a message to him. You know, he knew that he had probably been sold the fact that he had a safe place to stay. As it turns out, he had been told, I have a safe place for you to stay. And the second he was dropped off there, the person threw him out and dumped him at a campsite where he was not safe. You know, we knew that he was at the end of his rope and that he had been through really horrible abuses and violations of his civil rights for years at this point, and that he was distraught, and that when he saw his house was burned down, he just really didn't know what to do. And unfortunately, at that point in time, he had someone in his ear who said, I have a way to make this all better. And
which made it a whole lot worse.
Yes, yes. At the point that Charles ran, he was about to get a
change of venue.
Yeah, a change of venue and an extension on his court date, and the change of venue would have made all of the difference in the world. But, you know, once you run and become a national fugitive with billboards all over the place, it's hard to find a jury anywhere that doesn't think that you're guilty because you ran. And, you know, it's just one of those things, you know, like the American mentality is that if you try to avoid our court system, that you're guilty. And because he ran is why those jurors convicted him. Absolutely. You know, there's no way that he could recover from that. And it's going to take a panel of judges, which he will have on this appeal, to review the no evidence against him to clear all of that mess up. But the problem is, those jurors go on as who the person in this little box is. And then it was really easy for those jurors to buy the horrible lies that the prosecution said about him, because they thought, well, he ran, he's armed and dangerous, and he was trying to get out of us being able to look at him and think that he was guilty. And in the meantime, during all of this, the person that I called made up this story about her being raided by SWAT and la 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 la. I mean, at 5 o'clock, it said, he was just here, and they're coming to your house next. I said, why in the world are they coming here? And she said, well, I gave them your name and phone number and told them where you live. So at the time, I was on a school field trip with my college with a bus full of 19-year-olds in Orlando at an amusement park. So that came and cordoned off my neighborhood, came in and pinned my boyfriend. And then the FBI sent agents to the hotel where I was staying for my college week to talk to me to make sure I wasn't hiding Charles Dyer in the staff room of the hotel room. This whole thing is absolutely insane. And the main reason why the whole thing has gotten so crazy and so distorted has been because of certain people that were involved that did everything they could to make this into a conspiracy or some horrible thing that, is the world against Charles Dyer. And the simple fact is, he has a judge who should have never been able to sit over this case because the judge has it in for him. And he has a sheriff who is convinced he is guilty and will not listen to any other evidence. And he lives in a small podunk town where people like judges and sheriffs get away with violating people's rights. And lots of people in the last 2 years have gotten involved. Dozens of people who are all throwing stones at each other, attacking people, making up vicious lies, and doing it all to promote their own name.
Amen.
They're all using the tragedy of Charles Dyer to try to get famous and get to know them and think that they are a hero. And really, it's all a pile of crap. And, the people involved in all of this, like you and I and Darren and Nancy and Shane, who day after day called Mrs. Dyer and said, what can we do now? What do you need us to do now? How can we help? We have all been drugged through the dirt. I have had my address put out on the internet, and with my address, it has said, this woman needs to be killed. She has an infant in her house who you should kill as well because she is responsible for setting up patriots, and she is CIA, ATF, FBI, informant, la, 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 and we should go kill her. That's what you get for helping. That's what you get for calling a woman and saying, we want to help you. What can we do today? What kind of phone calls can we make? What kind of research can we do? What kind of support can we try to help with? We get...
Well, Charles said something really profound to me one time, Amelia. He said, you know what? No good deed goes unpunished.
Yeah. And, it's very true. And fortunately, obviously, this was a lesson that I had to learn about people, about the Patriot movement, about, life in general. I really didn't get how disgusting and horrible and nasty people are. I knew that there were some bad people out there, but I really didn't understand how absolutely psychotic and evil many people are. And I get it now. I understand now. Now that my infant has been threatened, and there are entire threads on websites with 88 pages in them of people detailing exactly how they're going to torture and kill me and my child. Because I called a woman whose son was in trouble and said, how can I help? And, so I called this woman, and I played along, and if anybody out there has an ex-girlfriend or an ex-wife or a wife that, is a little hard to deal with every once in a while, you will all know perfectly that when you're trying to get someone to help you, you don't go in and say, you're crazy, I don't agree with you. you go in and say, yeah, you're right. All of these people are a mess. Everything is a mess. Everything you say is true. Can you please get this message to this guy? And, I know that you get a lot of questions about, why did Amelia say these things about you? The deal is I was talking to someone who hates you and who has harbored all kinds of crap against you for years because she's just like that, because some people are just like that. And I knew all of this, and so I had to call her and say, yeah, I'm not Rick Light's best friend. I had to call her and say, the fact that Rick and I work together on everything in the world is not true. And I had to lay into her court and try to get her to give a message to a man who is on the run, who is being hunted by SWAT teams, that we had a safe way for him to come in, because we were all pretty sure that he had no clue that anybody was trying to help, that anybody was trying to arrange for his safety. We were all pretty sure that he was out there and figured that he was completely alone and that there was no hope. And we were just trying to let a desperate man know that there was hope. And for that, apparently my child deserves to be murdered. So I'm going to let Darren jump in.
Yes, Amelia, I had to mute Darren, and I apologize to Darren. I had to mute him because we had a little bit of feedback coming through the line, but I wanted to let you finish speaking. So I will be opening Darren's mic now. Darren, welcome to our program, and I'm sorry, honey, I hope you didn't have anything to interject. But your mic is open now, Darren. Welcome to the program.
Thank you, ma'am. Hi, Rick. Hey, how are you?
Oh, and Amelia just dropped from the call. So, Amelia, if you need to, honey, call back in. Our call-in number is 646-716-4984, and then you press 1 to raise your hand. Thank you so much. Go ahead, Darren. I apologize for interrupting you.
Hey, man, how are you, brother?
I'm doing fine, brother. How are you?
Doing as well as can be expected. A couple of things I would like to add to what Amelia said. I've been a private investigator and worked criminal defense cases for the better part of 2 decades. And during one case I had, it started out a simple divorce case that got worse and worse and worse, and eventually my client pulled up in his house with his soon-to-be ex-wife as a hostage. And he didn't. The cops showed up, cordoned off the neighborhood, blocked, they had him surrounded. They were trying to negotiate with him. He was not talking to them. And he called me because he'd been working with me for quite a while and trusted me, didn't know who else to call. And he explained the situation, and I tried to talk to him on the phone about, listen, this is not going to be okay if you don't come out, but, I understand your concerns now because I mirror Amelia's concerns about SWAT teams. They are not trained to de-escalate a situation. They are not trained to peaceably resolve a situation. They are there to swiftly and most often, violently end a situation. So I arrived on scene, and after, being harangued and harassed by every cop there, explained, I am in communication with the person you're trying to talk to. He'll, communicate with me. Finally, they allowed me to stay on scene, and eventually the situation was peaceably resolved. He let his wife go, and he came out unarmed with his hands up. And at that point, a SWAT team member that was standing very close to me turned to his partner and said, shit, I guess we don't get to kill anybody today. And they high-fived. It was at that point that I realized what SWAT teams were. And as Amelia said, they are execution teams more often than arresting police officers. And when Charles was in his situation, at the end of his rope, and completely, he was making a series of bad decisions because of his terror for his life and went on the run, I knew what those SWAT teams would do to him. So I wanted him. I understand there's argument there. Well, he's a grown man. He's a trained Marine. He can make his own decisions. Look, there have been times in my life when I've been at that last knot in the rope, swinging, twisting in the wind, and I'm not making the best decisions for myself. And during those times, I've needed, guidance and advice from people who were more clear-headed than me at the time. That was the role I was trying to play in getting Charles alive and returned. Because as a fugitive, that never goes away. Once a fugitive, you stay a fugitive for the rest of your life until you pass away. And that doesn't work out for very many people, especially when you've got federal authorities that are, I mean, you mentioned earlier the woman in the campground that Charles had been at one point. During her story, she described literally hundreds of police officers and SWAT teams. Hundreds. Not 20, 30, 40. She estimated in excess of 250 law enforcement officials from different services for one guy. They're not there to arrest him. That's a fox hunt. Are you still there, Rick?
It was a terrible situation.
Roger that.
I hope our listeners never have to go through what we went through trying to defend our brother. That was a horrible 2 years. Now, I can't even imagine what Mr. and Mrs. Dyer felt through it all. Yeah, folks, be careful what you listen to out there on the internet. Know that some people, they really dedicate themselves to their friends. They'll do what it takes to defend them. And, it's pretty horrible when you try to do a good thing for somebody and all of a sudden you're on the hit list for doing it. It's not fair. It's not fair, and it also deters other people from helping out, and that's not what we're going to do today.
No, I don't want your listeners, Rick, I don't want your listeners to think that if they help the Dyer family, they're going to fall under attack. It doesn't matter. There's right and there's wrong, and if you follow right and attempt to do right, then you have kept your honor intact. If it causes you a little personal issue, well, so be it. Just withstand that. But, I know there are people out there that can help the Dyer family in ways that they've not been helped yet. And I do want them to step to the forefront. Do not be afraid. These horror stories are bad enough. But, keep in mind, honor is still honor. And at this point, all of the evidence still indicates that this man did not commit this crime. So,
excuse me, Darren and Rick. Mrs. Dyer was going to have to get going because she is working today.
That's all right.
But she wanted me to mention that this entire thing was initiated on a bench warrant for Charles' failure to appear. And she wanted Rick to briefly address the change of venue that was issued while he was gone, and what happened with that. And I will also note that we are through our first hour and coming up on a break.
We took a little more time on this than what it was expected to.
Right. So if you would, Rick, go ahead and address that for us, and we'll take our break here shortly. And I want to thank you, Darren, for joining us also. Go ahead, Rick. Mrs. Dyer just asked that I have you address that, Rick.
Yes, I'll be more than happy to. Look, folks, Charles hadn't had sleep for several days. Now, I know all of y'all are probably sitting there thinking about rational thought. You had sleep deprivation, and you come home, or what you thought you were coming home to, and then your home's burning to the ground. And then somebody taps you on the shoulder and says, hey, buddy, they're trying to kill you. I'm going to get you out of here. Well, put yourself in that situation and you'll realize that, well, you might make a bad decision, and Charles did. He listened to somebody that took him over state lines. Now, I'm not going to presume any opinion on that. I'll just give you the information and that's the way it was. But anyway, Charles had to change the venue and all that stuff come his way, and, well, he lost that because there was no way to contact him after he ran. He knew he couldn't call me because me and him were very good friends. Matter of fact, they flew my ranch that day. There was airplanes all over my ranch for several days, knowing me and Charles were the friends we were. Charles knew he just couldn't contact me because, well, that would jeopardize me. Charles thought that much of me not to do that to me. And I've always appreciated that fact. I really have. But anyway, folks, it seems funny that they give him a change of venue and somebody just conveniently there to say, hey, buddy, you got to get gone. You know, can't help but to make us wonder what really happened then. You know, a change of venues granted, and, well, then it's taken away because, well, Charles made a bad mistake, thought his life was threatened, so he ran. The good news is they did drop the charges on the flight. I was glad to see that. But still, it doesn't take from things, folks. They successfully shut this man's evidence down that vindicated him. There's absolutely no evidence against Charles Dyer that he's guilty. And, folks, you know what? I've been through a lot for Charles Dyer, along with this support team. But you don't see me giving up. I don't care what people want to say about me out there on the internet. I really don't. Because, see, deep inside my heart, I know what the truth is. And I'm not going to let that stop me from defending my brothers, my sisters out there. Folks, we got a lot of veterans right now that need our help, not just Charles Dyer. Charles Dyer really is kind of an important issue because he's sitting in prison right now for a crime he did not commit. And folks, I want you to think about what could possibly happen to Charles. We all hear the stories of what happens in prisons when people's convicted of such things. I don't know if we got the time it takes to help Charles out. But you want to know something? I'm going to do everything I can for Charles Dyer, and I'm going to be getting with the Rutherford Institute. Matter of fact, my wife sent an email out in Charles' behalf to the Rutherford Institute this morning. I would hope all our listeners today will take time and send an email in to the Rutherford Institute telling them about Charles Dyer. Get him added on the list, folks. We might be able to get this man some help and get him out of this situation before things do go awry.
May I interject something here, please, Rick?
Yeah.
Thank you so much, brother. I appreciate you. I understand that when any of our soldiers get out, and I would like you to confirm or deny this, please, that they're kind of put on a terrorist list. And if that's the case, there would only be one reason why. They've seen things that the octopus doesn't want them to talk about. So they're trying to spread fear in any way, threaten death, kill them, put them in prison, whatever they have to do to silence them if they speak out and try to spread the word to wake people up. Is there any truth to that?
Yes, there is. Very much so. It seems like any of our veterans that's ever spoke up all of a sudden get wrangled up. And I can't help to think that certain questions are being asked in VA's offices that really are none of their business. I know there's a questionnaire about, do you got guns? Do you got bad thoughts about things? Well, folks, wait a minute. Let's stop and think about that. A lot of people have guns, and a lot of people have bad thoughts about things. I mean, these questions are real tricky. They're just a tricky little deal. And if you answer wrong on this questionnaire, well, all of a sudden you're crazy, there's a problem with you, they take your guns away from you, and the next thing you know, you're in the loony bin. Now, something tells me that when we get down to the bottom of this thing, and I hope certain people are listening to the show today, we will get to the bottom of it. I got a feeling when we get to the bottom of it, we're going to find out that the Department of Homeland Security was behind every bit of this. Every bit of it. But you know what, folks? I think that's more than room for the American people to step up and demand that this bastardized law enforcement agency created out of terroristic rhythm and fear is to be dismantled, and we should never see another entity like it ever arise in this nation again. Now, we've got an FBI out there. I feel like they're a legit entity. And I want people to bear in mind that just because a few FBI agents do something wrong, we can't label the whole agency that way. We can't do that. They have a legitimate purpose. Remind everybody, the FBI was formed to keep politicians from getting dirty and corrupt. But through bureaucracy over time, some of our agents' hands have been tied behind their backs. Make no mistake, folks, we got good patriots in the FBI. That's what I was saying on the show, or I think the last show or the show before that you know what? It's up to us to get behind these people and push them out of the mud. You know, the DHS is subverting their authority right now. They're actually swallowing up the FBI. They're swallowing up every law enforcement agency in there, and they're turning them into a militaristic entity that doesn't look out for your freedom, folks. They trample on it. And I hope Janet Napolitano is listening today. I really do. Or I hope some of her people are. I'm not going to say bad things about them, but what I'm going to ask them to do is, have you forgotten you're an American? Have you forgotten what the Constitution stands for? Have you forgotten about freedom and liberty? And most of all, have you forgotten people have God-given rights? And it's you. You're the one that is supposed to protect that.
Yeah.
And you've failed. You've absolutely failed.
Rick, we have a caller from...
Denise, why don't we go to a break and let's give Drake the stage so he can get on with his business.
Well, Rick, we have a caller from area code 478 that wants to make a comment.
Sure.
Caller, you're live.
Hello, everybody. I'm sure you know my voice. I just had
Welcome, Terry.
Hello, sister. Long time no hear.
I had to speak up on this one. Excuse me. We used to know in this country what it means to be a free people, how to discern truth and what our duty is to our fellow man, our neighbors, our countrymen. All the tragic losses we've felt as a people, as a nation, this loss, common decency and human compassion is the greatest. We've been lied to, indoctrinated, and deliberately dumbed down until we think that every man is an island unto himself and his problems are his own, even when we know he's being falsely accused and greatly harmed. This is the lie that's been used to turn this nation into mindless robots with no concern for anything outside themselves and beyond their front doors. The declaration has been made to the world that the people of America are free. It's done, and it can't be undone. But declaring a thing and making it so are two very different things. Now, it's time to prove it. So as I've said so many, many times, all over the place, you are the answer, you people out there listening to the show. And if there is anything within your power to do to help our men and women being victimized for standing for us and for freedom, it is not just your right, but it is your duty to do it. Amen. My heart and my support goes out to the Dyer family, and I wish with all my heart that criminal law was my area instead of consumer issues right now. However, that said, I would be happy to help in any way that I'm qualified to. And God bless this nation and the Dyer family.
Terry, God bless you, and thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And Grammy wanted to thank you for coming on. Grammy, Grammy, you're live.
Queen Songbird,
Yes, ma'am.
God bless you for coming on today.
I just am seeing far too much of this, and you all have to realize that this is part of the acceleration. They are backed into a corner. They are a wounded animal. There's nothing more dangerous than a wounded animal. The wounded animal has no choice but to lash out. They know that to give up, to throw in the towel, is not an option. So many will be held accountable for the great, great crimes against humanity.
Yes, they will.
And so what choice have they got but to try the last-ditch effort for the complete takeover and New World Order? They have no choice. The question is America awake enough? And does America understand her responsibility? Remember, when Thomas Jefferson wrote that Declaration of Independence, it was just like what we've done. It was a declaration. It was up to the people to prove that it was true.
Yes.
That time has come again. So let's hope. You know, there's only one way to stop this from happening. The people have to stand and say no.
No more.
No more. We are not property. We are not corporate entities. We are not robots. We are not owned. We are flesh and blood, human beings, men and women born with unalienable rights given us by our Creator. No man can take that from us. We are our authority, each and every one of us. So, what is it do you want, and how important is it to you? Families like the Dyers, they can't do it alone. And God did not intend for any man to be an island. So with that said, I'll get off my soapbox.
Love you, baby.
Love
you too.
Well, Denise, I think it's time for a break.
Is mine mic hot?
Yes,
Yes,
did
it's
you
hot.
just hear your sister, Queen Songbird, talking?
Well, of course I'm listening to the show. What do you think?
Denise
wouldn't
and
have
I
missed it.
knew she was going to come on, but we weren't sure if she was going to speak, and we wanted to surprise you and Rick, so we didn't tell you.
Well, the surprise is nice, and I think that's cool, and I like what was said, and in full agreement. And if there's anybody out there that's got the capability to, you know, throw something into the pot in terms of maybe getting something done, please feel free. If you can't contact Rick directly, contact us. We'll make sure it gets to where it needs to be, and we need to get this sort of thing done, because each time we win something like this, it gets us a little closer, because then you got what's called precedent. It's kind of a legal standard that somebody has ruled that ain't right, and you can run on that, believe me. So there you go.
Yeah, I say standing ovation for Terry.
Amen. I agree.
Okay, everyone, are we ready to take a break before we get to our updates? And Terry, you're welcome to stay with us if you can.
I'll be listening.
Okay. Thank you so very much, Terry, for joining us today.
You're welcome.
And so you ready to take a break?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and everyone sit tight. We're going to have Drake's update coming up right after the break. And with that, I'm going to play a special request by one of our team members. So sit back and enjoy. Okay, that was a shorter than normal break. I hope that was enough time, Drake.
Well, sure. Was for me.
Okay, we have Drake and Minuteman and Grammy. You're live with us again. Drake, go ahead. We do have a couple of important callers that have called in that are waiting to say a little something, too, before we do go to questions. So go ahead. Pardon me?
I said that's not a problem.
Okay, thank you, Drake.
I've been looking into things quite closely. I've been talking to some people, and from what I've been able to find out right now, pretty much everything's ready to go. And I thought, cool, we're ready. Now, there's certain people that got to go places and get things done. Some of those are international, some not, some in varying areas of the country that may not be safe. And I was thinking about that, and a lot of people going, I can't believe they ain't charged you yet. And I said, well, I'm, kind of divorced from the world. I hide in the woods, and it's hard to see me for the trees, which makes things a little safer. The other part of it is that I did check. I was curious. Some of the people I know that are doing these things are really decent people. They're putting their butts on the line for us. And they got families, a lot of them do. And I don't want to see either a separation, such as what Rick has talked about today, nor do I want to see permanent separations. That ain't necessary. However, in the process of making sure that the efforts of all these people come out in the right direction and that they're fulfilled as much as can be. Now, you may not get everything done in one shot at things. I'm sure moms know about that with kids. I'm sure people have seen other people's kids in the same kind of situation. And the kid's going to insist on getting something and doing this, and their parents say, oh, no, you ain't, and that's when the fun begins. Well, we got a sort of situation like that. Big Brother would like to put his foot down on our neck, and we're moving around enough that he can't quite hit the target. It ain't quite happening the way he would want to. And the maneuvers that have been being made, things disappearing, things moving around, and people continuing with whatever portion of this program is required, has them really wondering what to do next. And like I said, I know some of these people, care about them a bit. In the fact that they're willing to sacrifice themselves for this effort, I figured I'd look into it, and I did. And I was surprised. You hear about a lot of people that are supposedly retired. You hear about a lot of people that no longer have a say, so to speak. Oh, we don't have to pay attention to them. They're not, doing it right now. Well, the thing about that is, like a Marine, ain't no such thing as an ex-Marine. It's a brotherhood that stays forever. It's just like combat. Once in combat, you can recognize another veteran of combat by the way they move. You can tell. And I can tell that these people are well aware of the combat that they've entered into. And so I decided to ask. I had to pull a little hair and twist a little arm and say, hey, look, this is me. And, yeah, I'll announce it, but I ain't going to say who told me. And this came from several places. I was overjoyed that it came from several places. These people that are putting their butts on the line are being watched over. And these are people that are armed, and they don't play. And I would not suggest that the cabal try anything funny, because they're going to get the raw end of the dirty stick. And it ain't going to be put where they want it, I guarantee you. That's international as well. There are a lot of people who understand what's going on, and they're right there, ready to help. Now, I was hoping something extraordinary would happen this week. Well, we're going to get an announcement as soon as we can find out some things further. It'll be put on the website, and it deals with whether the RNC is going to be open or closed. It deals with what's happening in terms of a lot of different things that I've talked about before, to include our freedom. And, I can almost taste it. It's like that extraordinarily delicious wedding cake that just melts in your mouth kind of thing. And I know it's coming. I can smell it. It's there, and I just got a little ways to walk to get there. So, as for updates, you've got an extraordinary amount of maneuvering you have to look at what's going on in terms of foreign countries as well as our own. And I know a lot of people ain't too worried about foreign countries, but what you don't understand is that those are linked to the same people we're after. As these people find limitations in playing their usual games, those same limitations are applying here. You'll note that a whole bunch of fun and games has been initiated in terms of legislation, executive orders, and other happy horse manure, and it ain't happened yet. I wonder why. I mean, these guys got the best intentions for us. They want to lock us up in little cubicles and make us eat our own excrement, I think. Last I heard, that was the plan on their part. Our plans are a little different. We want to be out in the sunshine, able to walk around free, able to breathe free air, and know that it wasn't just you that did it, but everybody. And when everybody says, thou shalt, and they're talking to somebody that's supposed to be in power, it generally comes about. There's a little place in South America that had enough. They overthrew the government. Put another government in there. That government started acting the same way, so they took that one out too. They put another one in. They're trying on number 3 right now. It's probably more than that, but just on their efforts. And that's something to consider. I mean, once people know that they're going to be responsible for what they do, and that they need to do so in what everybody would consider a, quote, righteous manner, that means right by everybody, not just one-sided, jump in your pocket with both feet and a shovel and try to dig every little penny out. It means you get to keep the efforts of your labor. You get to keep what you sweated and bled about, so that you can provide, so that you can do what you should be able to do with it. That they don't tell you what to do, that they don't bring false charges, that they don't play the games they've been playing. These people are slowly getting in trouble. As somebody gets clear or something, you know, troubles, problems, what was on the show today is an example. I heartily suggest that they prosecute these suckers. Hard, heavy, and as deep as you can stick it. Put a lawyer up there, whatever, and see how they like that. Run any kind of objection you can find against them. Give them something to do. They cost them a considerable amount of money. The gist of things is this, and I've been expressing this to a lot of people online. Emails come through, ask me, and all this. Terry's been one of the people that I know of, as well as myself, who's been involved on the, quote, financial end of things. This does not mean that some people have direct involvement or as direct involvement as I am and do have, but have been a part of this. The thing I look at is two things. I have the utmost respect for anybody that's willing to stand up, even if they disagree, for the fact of freedom. I have the utmost belief that as more of us do so, it'll become more of a reality, because few and fewer of us will take it anymore. Like that thing with, you know, I'm mad as hell and I ain't going to take it anymore and all that. So what we will need to do and to accomplish is make this thing as contagious as you can. Everybody. People who want to know more. People that need to understand what they can do legally, what they can do. Listen, most of it's posted on our website, and I'd like to thank Denise for being able to do all that. She's the one that handles a lot of that, and I mean, some days she gets busy. Most days, if it ain't that, it's the show's coming up or something else is going on, and you know, you end up with pulling these all-nighters. I've told her that the effort is probably not worth losing her health over. So, you know, there you go, Denise. Get some sleep. You too, Granny Jay.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you, Drake.
We should, though, expend what we can. I mean, I can afford to stay up some, and so I do. I try to answer as many questions as is possible. Problem I'm getting into is that people that have questions, first go to the Q&A section. There is one. It don't answer all the questions, but it's got a lot there. Read that first. If you're referred to a show check it out. It probably has more information than you may need. Fine. Turn it off at the right point where you feel you understand what's going on and it answers your question. You don't have to listen to the whole thing just because it's there. But the gist of the update is that people want extraordinarily sensitive inside information. I got a bunch of it. And to make sure that the operations, the tactical positions, and things like that, along with all the people, aren't jeopardized, I keep my mouth shut. Now, believe me, my tongue is sore from not being able to say what I'd like to be able to say. I hope to be able one day to say, yes, here's how it is, folks, and lay it all out. I would love nothing better than to be able to do that right now. That ain't the case. However, speaking of cases and things of that nature, I've been talking to Mr. Keenan quite a bit, and he's pretty much ready, and some things are beginning to happen. And somebody who feels they might be able to assist him in some way or another are welcome to get in touch with us, and I'll make a reference in terms of what you can do if I know that that's one thing he's looking for. And we just kind of go from there. So the crux of this is I would like to see kind of just the center of the room. Let's make a square dance out of it and do-si-do around that sucker and start celebrating.
Oh, yes.
The reason I'm saying that is that we pretty much have won. There's one key element that's lacking, and it's being taken care of as we speak. It's in process. There's definite progress being made. And I look to hear church bells pretty soon. I would love to hear that we are a free nation once again. Now, I did take the time and trouble to express that to some people, and they started checking, and they found out what I was doing and said, thank you. And I said, no, I thank you. When we're free, we ring every friggin' bell that there is one. I don't care if it's a recording comes through loudspeaker, it don't matter. Everybody needs to ring their bell. And they said, no problem. So when this thing comes free, everybody's going to wonder why all the bells are ringing. All these people that have been asleep all this time and missed everything, we get to tell them, hey, guess what? You're free. What do you mean? Check your paycheck next week and watch it. There ain't going to be no taxes. What do you think about that? Does that help your freedom and your peace of mind? Oh, man, that ain't going to. Yeah, okay. So talking about is a lag in timing. You're talking about a little bit of a wait period for personal proof. Well, it's coming. Pretty soon we're going to have a couple of shows that are going to be pretty dynamite. Some people have told me that they would entertain being interviewed or having a talk after the fact. There's varying reasons for that, but I do hope that those people will still have time and be able to do so. I think they're extraordinary people. So that's my little shot for the day.
Greg.
Yeah, I understand you got some people want to make statements or something?
Yes, Drake. We have Dr. P had something she wanted to bring to the table.
Okay.
Let me bring her on. Dr. P, you're live.
Hi, Denise. Hi, Drake. Hello, everybody.
Hello,
Drake,
ma'am.
Hello, Dr. P.
Oh, hi, Minuteman. Hi, Granny.
Hi, baby.
I wanted to thank you all for everything that you're doing, and I just want to say just a couple of things. Drake, a couple of months ago, you posted the issue about the missing 13th Amendment, and you said do your homework. Well, I'm a former professor, but not in constitutional law, and I was waiting until I got out to the West Coast to research at a private library where I knew that there were 17th and 18th century rare documents. And this past 2 weeks, in between the Consciousness Beyond Chemtrails, where I lectured last week, I've spent about 10 hours and found an 1819 original Constitution that was approved and requested by the House of Representatives to be published. on their behalf. And sure enough, there is the original 13th Amendment. So I'm in touch now with a couple of constitutional lawyers because this is way out of my bailiwick, but I wanted to thank you, and it took a few months until I could look at the original document, but it's there, and there are probably other ones, and the system is broken, so we need to put it back together again. And I wanted to thank you very much for posting my call for a U.S.-Canadian general strike this coming Friday through the following Tuesday. This is something that I originally said last Saturday at our first United States gathering, geoengineering, chemtrails gathering. It's only the second conference in the world since they started spraying us, somewhere between 15 and 20 years, and apparently from new research it might even have been even further back than that. So I wanted to figure out, since I'm a very peaceful person and there's been so much harm done to all of us on many, many levels, I wanted to try and figure out what could I do. So this is what I'm suggesting. It's posted on your site, and I'm asking that everybody go home. We've got a Labor Day weekend, and I am suggesting we don't need to support a system that is harming us. So there are 3 P's that I'm asking for everybody to think about: precaution, prevention, and the power of the purse. And I'm spelling purse, P-U-R, and instead of an S, it's a $sign. We do not have to support the corporations or the system that is harming us. We've never really used that. The buck stops at the cash register, as I said. We don't have to buy things that are harming us. And I'm asking everybody peacefully, I'm a very peaceful person, go home on Friday. A lot of people are taking off Friday anyway to make it a 4-day weekend. Saturday and Sunday people are off. Monday's a legal holiday. And I'm just asking everybody, stay home on Tuesday. We have this tremendous, tremendous untapped power as human beings that we've never used. And I'm just saying, go home. Think about what you want for our future. We certainly don't want the criminality and the harm that is being done across the board. And I believe that we can do this. So I'm just asking everybody, there is brain damage now. There are chemical bombs. There was, at the conference, there's all sorts of reports. If anybody wants more information, they can go to cbclive2012.com. There's a link on your page, Drake, and I just want to thank everybody. And just remember, we can do this peacefully. There's been enough harm done to all of us. They can't come to everybody's door, and we can just go home, be with our loved ones, disengage from the cell phones and all the other technology that keeps us from one another, and come from, Minuteman said, fear is the wrong way, and I certainly believe that. We have to come from our hearts. We have to come from compassion and love and kindness, all the things that make us really great human beings, and that's what we have to do, and shut down the country peacefully. Thank you very much.
Hey, I got a question.
Yes.
You think you can get a copy of that Constitution and send it to us?
Well, you know what? I'm having issues about that, so I can give Denise some information, and maybe you can call me or I can call you offline, because I'm, excuse me, I'm at a crossroads, and I can tell you more about that if we can talk privately.
I'm sure we can. That's the only thing I was curious about.
Okay. I'm glad to share it, but there's some little issues that we have to deal with.
No problem.
Okay.
And thank you.
Let's come together peacefully. Just go home, as my article says. Just go home and be together in peace and love. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. P. Thank you so very much. We'll be in touch.
Well, okay.
Thank you so much. Okay, and we had one other statement that Mr. B wanted to make before we go to the questions. Drake, Mr. B from Arizona. Mr. B, you're live.
Yes, dear, I appreciate that. I'm glad to hear that this Dr. P has a document that I've been looking for months. I would like to have a copy of it, if at all possible. But the ratification that we do need is to get the state of Virginia to reaffirm the 1819 ratification of the title of nobility, the same document that Dr. P is talking about. If this is reaffirmed, half of the garbage that we have today will be gone, because in 1869, the Congress changed us from a republic to a corporation. And if we can get the missing 13th Amendment reaffirmed and show that all of these garbage laws that they have passed and taken us out of common law and put us in legislative law, we will have our Constitution back, our Bill of Rights, and everything else. And we need this reaffirmed as quickly as possible. I have felt that I have been the only one besides Drake and a few others trying to get this reaffirmed. And I appreciate everything that everyone is doing. I just feel like I'm at a loss.
I think you just said everything necessary.
I hope so. And if anybody needs my address or phone number, contact Drake or Joanne Moretti or JoJo. They both have my phone number so that I can get a copy of this and we can get the state of Virginia legislature. We only need 40 members of the House of the Virginia legislature to reaffirm. If you want a listing of the names of the people from the House of Virginia legislature and for the Senate, and there it only takes 15 members of the Virginia legislature that are eligible to vote to reaffirm this ratification as of the 21st of March, 1819, and we will have our Constitution back, and we will get rid of this corporation that we're in.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. B. Appreciate it. Okay. All right. I think are you ready for questions, Drake?
Yeah, I usually am.
Okay. We'll rapid fire here because we got lots of them and we've used up a lot of our time today. Okay, let's see. All righty then. Just got to scroll down. Okay. After all this is settled, Drake, are you going to reveal yourself publicly?
Absolutely. I think it'd be safe to do that, and everybody probably be going crazy trying to figure out who exactly I am, and we'll go from there.
Okay. My modification payment is coming due. I, like many, don't have $2 nickels to get ready for the system shifting. So do you recommend paying it all at this point? I know the answer is probably sadly yes, but now it's a choice between my needs and a way to help others.
Okay, well, the best thing you can do is to make sure that you're straight so that you don't have problems. The lesser problems we got with in terms of people out there that can rectify their problems or address them, the better. Next.
Okay. All right. Okay, quite a few people, starting at the end of last Wednesday's program, said things like, this represents a huge about-face in the whole direction that Drake has been traveling the past month or so. We all know there are extremists out there. None of us is qualified to tell the difference between peaceful and not. Trying to figure out who the bad guys are and take them down. Are you spreading fear porn?
No. What you have to do is some of the things that I put up seem to be contradictory. And my suggestion on that was to put them up so that there would be a controversy, that people would start talking about it. Oh, wait a minute, he says this and he turns around and says that. Ooh, there's a change in the direction of the show. Well, not exactly. The direction of the show has been directly aimed at the bullseye known as freedom. The ideologies expressed gives people the tools necessary to get there. You got legalities, you got some spiritual knowledge, and you have the personal confidence to get in the chat room, get on the Facebook page, to call in. So that personal initiative needs to be spread to people to take some form of action. You can get together as a group and figure out how you might want to attend to removal of an official, or just simply go out and try to help people build this group and organize it, help get the consensus of a small town you live in, or a neighborhood, or a political district, that sort of thing. Once the change to a majority is made towards freedom, it's going to be real difficult to win it back. And you're going to have to realize that the difference is that when you realize freedom, when you realize that you do have the power and the capability to accomplish things, the people that would stand against you or opposite or opposing to you seem to have a problem with that. They sort of vanish, back up, and shut up. Okay? Yes. I think somebody's hunting for questions or something here.
Yeah.
She's in there somewhere. Wait till the computer.
Oh, she's just busier than a bee.
Oh, I'm imagining. We probably got 1,000 million things happening all at the same time.
Yes, and there's a lot of questions, too, and she's trying to pull the ones that she feels are most relevant.
Well, you also have to understand that there's a hurricane coming on down in that area. I mean, you know, I imagine there's a lot of listeners in Florida that are on the road.
Okay, here I am. No, I don't know what was going on. Terry Hinkle had something she wanted to say, but then it says she dropped. I'm going to try and bring her in again.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, please.
It says she dropped, but Terry, are you there?
Yes.
Oh, there you are. Okay. I don't know. I opened your mic and it said caller Terry dropped, but you're still there, so you didn't drop. So stranger things have happened. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I tell you, that was the third time.
Oh goodness. Okay. Well, I understand you had another statement you wanted to make, Terry.
Yeah. Hold on here a second. I was working on some legal docs for somebody, and I got sidetracked. The lady that was on a couple of minutes ago, she
Dr.
just said, she said something so many do not understand. When you're looking for answers on any issue you're dealing with today, you'll always find the truth when you follow the money. Nobody, absolutely nobody out there in this country, in this world, is immune to the master plan that the self-appointed elite have crafted and are determined to carry out. You've not lost your job by accident. You're not losing your home by accident. There are no accidents. And only you can yield your freedom, your God-given rights, and your future. That master plan was put into place for more years than we've been alive. And none of it could have been pushed forward without the greatest scam in history, the monetary debt system known as the Federal Reserve, the IMF, the Crown, the Vatican. Always follow the money to identify the criminals, and then stand for your rights. Realize it's not your neighbor's fault. It's not your boss's fault. It's nobody else's fault. Follow the money. You're always going to find the truth when you do that.
Thank you, Terry.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much, Terry.
Anytime.
And I'm going to have to be getting off here in a few minutes. Like I said, I'm helping someone with some legal docs, and I do have the little one today.
Hug to you, sister.
Okay, thanks again, Terry. Thanks again.
You're welcome.
Okay. All righty then. Let's see. We'll get some more questions. Okay. As a continuation of that, will the Islamic issue override the Keenan lawsuit?
No, it can't. You're trying to combine two different things. You've got one that's a, quote, belief system, unquote, and the reason I quote that thing is because I don't feel that it's a belief system, personally. I've seen what the belief system is, and it doesn't have anything to do with what you're going to read about in terms of Islam. Then you got the combination of everyday people that's how they believe. I got no problem with that. You want to get the prayer rug out, and I want to pray to Jesus next to you. As long as we ain't got a problem, I don't see what the problem is, personally. Now, all of this, as I've stated before, the Keenan lawsuit, the liens and things of that nature, that's one portion of a great many things that are going to have to be done. That's only just the starting of it all. You're going to clean up a mess, and that mess is extraordinary. Part of the mess was our allowance of it. That's the same thing with religion and or any belief systems. All of the belief systems, and this is going to be a hard pill to swallow, are due to be adjusted according to absolute truth. And, can't help what somebody don't like. We are going to go through an ascension and supposedly be able to meet some of these entities that we have worshipped for so long.
Okay.
That's wonderful.
Okay. Okay, a question from our chat room, Drake. How will the process of receiving campaign contributions change at the state level?
Well, you're not going to have campaigns anymore. If you take a close look at the political system, it's a wholly owned subsidiary of George Soros. Whether anybody likes it or not, he owns it. Now, if that particular dirty person owns it, you can imagine what the intent and purpose of it is. And you have to remember two things. They want to be adverse. Even though they agree on how something should be done, they want to be adverse. Why is that? Well, it's real simple. It's called division. Divide and conquer. You got this camp, Democrat. You got that camp, Republican. You got this camp, people that are of a different color than you might be. Ooh, division. That's the name of the game. You divide and conquer. Nobody can swallow a T-bone steak whole. Don't work that way. So you got to cut it up in pieces. You divide it. This is the idea. The simple thing is, we all got to live on this planet. The simple thing is that it ain't big enough for us to be separated. And the third part about it is, get over it. If somebody has taught you that there's some kind of problem in terms of inferiority, whether it's white, black, purple, or what, it doesn't make no difference. You go talk to some of these people and find out they're just as everyday, regular as you are. I go to the bathroom like we do, eat dinner, the whole usual things. And they deal with the same kind of problems. Ain't just us. So, you take that in that light, take that all with a grain of salt. Take a look at things with a grain of salt. Do not watch TV. It's a waste of time, unless you're watching a movie, and then those are tainted also. But, we've got a long road to go. We got a whole lot of things. Every portion of everything you can think of is about to change in its base formulation, in the way it comes into being. The structure of that is critical. And this is why we've got consummate experts that I'm trying to garner everyone I can get hold of in order to make sure that things not only are right, but that we come out with a righteous result, something that's clean. In other words, you wash. I used to wash the blackboard when they had such things in school, and you cleaned it so that the writing didn't overlap. You cleaned it so that the chalk didn't stay on there. It's like deleting something in a computer. You delete it, and it's still there. There's a ghosty of it in your prespace you have. But, you clean that free space, you got it. So we got several things to do. One is we need to get this done, the freedom portion, so that the bad guys no longer have the power over us. Then we got to clean up the mess. And that's not going to be easy, and it's going to take a little bit of time to do. At the same time, we're supposed to be going through a bunch of spiritual whoop-de-doo, I'll call it, for want of a better word, changes like nobody's ever seen. And I am personally grateful that it's going to happen to everybody, and I mean everybody, even the bad guys get to go. They're not going to get to go with us, per se. In other words, you ain't going to be rubbing elbows with them. They're supposed to be separated from us because there's a problem with them. When they get the problem fixed, then they can go back and join the club. So there it is.
Okay. Not to compete or send away listeners, but you were speaking of don't watch TV, but right now I keep getting told that the Ron Paul rally is live on C-SPAN. Okay.
Well, hey, that's not bad. You know, it depends on the reality of what's happening. And some of the issues come out in terms of if you look at the legislation and actually read it, there's permissatory clauses in that you know, if they don't condescend and agree, it don't happen. Now, you know, you go think about that. Who's going to give permission for somebody to put you in jail? You ain't going to do that. You know, that's like writing I'm guilty above your name on a traffic ticket. That sort of thing just don't happen. So, you know, go from there.
Okay. All right. Let's rapid fire some more of these. Okay, okay, Drake, we are about to go 4D, and will we see our loved ones that have died before us? And so when we die, do we also go 4D? Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
According to what's been explained to me, yes.
Okay. Was Drake condoning the government spraying toxic chemicals in the sky? This looks bad for you, Drake. Mosquitoes have a purpose.
Those mosquitoes were put there on purpose. They were infected on purpose. Anybody does not know about the genetic engineering going on this planet. You've heard of GMO foods. Do you think that they're just concentrating on petunias? How would
mosquitoes aren't going to get me just the itchy bite
of the population be brought about without disease, sickness, and lowering your capability to be able to be functional? Simple.
Right. No longer are mosquitoes just an itchy little bite. Okay. Okay. Does Drake think it would be okay to just sit back, inform people, and let things happen until the end of the year? Obviously, we should have rations available just in case, or should we be getting super active and preparing extra much?
All of the above, if that's a multiple guess question, which it looked like it was.
Yeah.
You need to do as much as you can, every way that you can. You need to prepare and protect yourself so that you can still function if you're awake and aware. To go along with that, you also need to spread the word. You don't want your neighbors hungry. You make sure they know about it. Bingo.
Okay. Okay. Well, that's a question that's been asked 1,000,001 times. What's going to happen to my money in the bank? That'll be on our frequently asked questions.
Well, hold on.
Go ahead.
It's real simple. If they close the bank doors, how are you going to get your money? You ain't. Real simple.
Okay. The Canadian Free Press, in the Canadian Free Press, the event would be staged assassination attempt on the life of President Obama that would be blamed on white supremacists and subsequently used to enrage black and Hispanic communities, driving them all into rioting across the nation. The objective would be to stir up enough racial unrest to justify the imposition of martial law in major urban cities and delay the November 2012 elections. Would that be correct?
That's supposed to be their plan, as I heard about it. Now, there's a problem with that, and that is that as sloppy as they've been on these mass shootings and other things, and as stupid as they have been in actually taking that sort of action, I'll suggest that these people that might want to put this together probably ain't got the brains other than to mess up a wet dream. Next.
Okay. The rigging of elections will be stopped, correct? And we will find out exactly how they were rigged and who rigged them.
Not only that, they're going to have paper ballot only elections from the point of freedom on. That way you write it down, you sign it, it's yours, nobody messes with it, period.
Okay, and I'm not sure how to pronounce this name. Is Nigel Farage of the UK Independence Party a good guy? He speaks very strongly against the EU, but I understand he may be a part of the cabal.
That's a possibility. I have not personally checked the man out, so I don't know, but there's an easy way to find out, and that is to look into a personal search on Google. That will give you a general take on what's going on, and it should give you, from previous actions, things said, etc., it should give you a working idea as to what the person's about.
Okay. All right. Next question is, Drake, could you appear on Coast to Coast with George Norrie? David Wilcock appears there normally or regularly, and maybe David could pave the way for you to be a guest.
That would be fine with me. I'll appear on there if they want me on there.
Okay. Let's see. Do you have any information on what GATA, G-A-T-A, GATA's Bill Murphy says is a mega J.P. Morgan scandal, which will rival the LIBOR scandal? The timing he alludes to sounds like it's on the same timeline as Keenan's filings.
It sort of is, and yeah, it's got it's a reality, and yes, you know, it can do a lot of damage. But the problem is that the first thing that has to happen is an honest adjudication of the crooks involved, to include international figures that have screwed with our economy on interest rates and other things. This is also true in Caffrey and other items that have come up recently. Okay?
Okay, this one's kind of a lengthy question, Drake. The ARES project proposes flying the DOE NNSA-owned helicopter with specialized radiological detection testing equipment at multiple altitudes over selected areas of San Francisco, Oakland, and Pacifica. The project entails collecting background radiation readings taken by the RSL Aerial Measuring System, AMS, detection testing equipment. Approved data derived from the survey results will be shared with local and state officials. Do you think this may just be a black op agenda for hitting us with some more radiation, or do you have any intuitive guess as to what this might mean?
Well, first of all, they are curious, and some of these things are not exactly evil or a conspiracy type of deal. But I will caution that in the past, there have been waste products dumped in a lot of places. One of those is the San Francisco Basin and Los Angeles Basin. That's where the supposedly solid land comes from that a lot of things are built on. If somebody wanted to cause the removal of an area, if it happened to just come out that it was radioactive, that would be a great help. Next.
Okay. All right, let's see. My son suggested that the event may be the exposure of the location of the Holy Grail somewhere in the United States and releasing its powers to responsible and capable individuals. Capable because one would have to be in at least the fourth or fifth density to be able to accept its powers. Could he be right?
No. The great event is going to be the change from 3 to 4 and 4 to 5. There's 2 of them coming. The great event will be completed when we are where we are supposed to be, which I understand is 5D, not 4. The changes between the 2 are close in terms of 3 and 4 right now. The next step is going to be pretty awesome, as I understand it. So we'll just have to all, I don't know, fasten our seatbelts and enjoy the ride.
Okay. I get Social Security every month deposited into a bank. I am in Panama, so I can't run out and join a neighborhood bank. When the money gets deposited, I go to a local ATM and get some cash, pay bills online from my online account. Will this continue?
It's a good probability that these things will. You may be put in a position of switching banks, in terms of that bank may close temporarily while another one handles financial transactions of that type that you're talking about. You got to remember, too, that things such as Social Security to people who are supposed to be receiving it and veterans benefits, things of this nature, some of it is retirement as well, are not supposed to be interrupted. So we're going to have to really feel through this very carefully as it comes about and see what exactly does happen. I have not been privileged to see some of the extraordinarily large details, so I have to wait and see.
Okay. Some of this is abbreviated, so I may have some trouble reading it. Reuters says the feds are ready to ease again fairly soon. How can this be when we have been told that the Federal Reserve is now non-existent, not able to any longer print fiat currency or maneuver markets for their own gain?
Well, it could be that they keep that money here in the States this time for a change instead of giving it away to foreign banks. That would be a nice one. The second thing would be that I would suggest they don't need a QE3 because they still got money sitting in the corner left over from the last one.
Okay. Drake has advised us to stay away from the banks affiliated with the Federal Reserve Bank in the United States. Would the equivalent also apply to the Reserve Bank of Australia and its affiliates? Do I want to stay away from them too?
I would suggest staying away from any affiliate of any central bank in any country, period. Don't matter where it's at. It does not matter what side of the planet it's on. You need to stay away from them because as the one goes down, so do the others.
Okay. You are right on, Drake, but you are a little bit out of sync. You are 2 years early with your promulgation of your information. The Newman movement, spiritual movement, is underway. Newmen are the inheritors of earth spoken of in the Bible. Time is very near. You may be a Newman in waiting. You must be, cubed before you become a Newman. We have less than 5 years before it all hits the fan. You need to be cubed before that, Drake.
I hope it is not painful. Now, I'm familiar with the Newman movement, and what you have to understand is this is predicated upon a religious belief under a belief system. As I stated before, a large portion of these belief systems are going to be altered through absolute truth. Now, these absolute truths are not going to come from me. They're going to be coming from people and entities that everybody knows about. So, as I said, if your office chair or your couch don't have a seatbelt, think about getting a set because it's going to be a fun ride. Next.
Okay. There were a few videos out this week that Putin may be going to invade the United States. Is this true?
No.
Okay. All right. What will be...
Yeah, the answer is no.
Okay, what will be the status of the United Nations and the U.S. role in it? Will the United States get out of the UN and the UN get out of the U.S., or the UN get out of the U.S.?
The UN is going to be reconfigured to what it was supposed to be in its original ideology. It's going to be a help and brokerage house for individual countries. When somebody needs something that other countries have an abundance of, they can distribute that to that country at minimal costs. This was the basic idea of the United Nations in terms of what it was supposed to do. It is not supposed to be a police force. It's not supposed to be an edict center. It is not supposed to give ultimatums to countries irrespective as to what they're doing, so long as they're not putting themselves in a position of harming others or other nations. So it's also, as I understand it, supposed to be removed from the United States and placed on its own island. So these are some of the future things you can look forward to. Next.
Okay. And this next one I can kind of sort of answer, and you can elaborate, Drake. I'm living in Florida. I was looking for silver coin, and it looks as though people have no idea about all this. Could you please tell me where I can buy silver coin and give me an idea of average price and how I can request them? And I will answer that, I have friends that have ordered older silver coin from online things like the big what is it? I now had a brain fart and I can't think of the name. The big clearinghouse like things online, and then or local pawn shops. Mom and pop jewelry stores sometimes sell coin, that kind of thing.
The best way to find these places is go to a pawn shop and ask them if there is a coin dealer that they know of around. And they'll be able to generally tell you because a lot of your pawn shops are people that go and bid on estates and things of that nature, and they get all kinds of oddities that they have no idea as to what the value is. They go find out what the value is, what they can get on the market, and turn the thing into cash. The other person gets a jewelry or whatever it might be that's an oddity. and they're happy to get it, and they got a decent deal, and you got some cash in your pocket, and everybody's happy. So this is a working relationship, and it's been that way for years. So that's my suggestion, the easiest way that I know of. If that particular pawn shop don't know, go to the next one.
Okay. All right. Okay. Drake, you have mentioned that the big U.S. banks will be more likely to go down with the financial changes appearing on the horizon, and that the new currency would be based on a one-for-one basis to the old currency. May I kindly have your opinion on the funds being held by these banks, both as bank deposits and as stocks or shares in a brokerage account?
I'm not real sure as to the clarity of what they're asking. Yeah, you're going to have the only fair way to make an exchange would be a one-to-one basis. The systems, in terms of the amount that you get, may be adjusted downward simply because you don't need that much money because of the value difference. Now, the other part of this is that banks need to get out of the gambling business of stocks, bonds, and commodities. And this is why Glass-Steagall has been coming up lately. They need to reenact that. They negated it, and everything went in the toilet real quick. There's a lot of things, as I said before, that are going to be changed, this sort of thing being one of them. Next.
Yeah, because part two of the question was, will these funds, if they are from legitimate investors and depositors, also be protected on a one-for-one basis under the new financial system?
Well, I'm going to tell everybody right now, and it's real simple. You want assets that you can hold in your hand, period. You do not want pie-in-the-sky stocks. And the reason I say they're pie-in-the-sky is because they have what's called futures. In other words, what's the future of that company in terms of the business it's in and how it's run. The other part is that you have what's called earnings multiples and things of this nature that play games with the actual number. On average, if you divide whatever you got by 3, that'll give you somewhere near the idea of what the actual value of the stock is. Now, you probably pay $25, $30 on average for an average stock. That average stock can be as much as 20 times earnings. So what you have to do is ask the company what their earnings multiple is, or contact a dealer broker that has charts that they can send you to so you can look it up. You'll find that most stocks are at least 3 times at the very minimum. Some, as I said, 20 or more. That's not a true valuation. It's the same thing in terms of gross domestic product, and everybody's heard about that. That's what happens in this country. Is adjusted seasonally? Now, what does that mean? I mean, what they don't ever really say what that is, but they say they adjusted the numbers. That's number one, playing with the numbers or cooking the books. Number 2, we're not going to take food and gasoline and stuff like that into account because it's too nasty. It moves too much, and it screws with us too badly. Well, everybody has food and gas now, so your gross domestic product is probably really out of whack in comparison to what they're saying. In other words, the reality does not match the fiction. Next.
Excuse me.
Okay.
Yes.
Please.
Go ahead.
Yes.
Oh, thank you. I just got a private message from one of my Facebook friends. I'm going to read it verbatim. Grammy J, they just announced a few minutes ago, live at Paul Fest, the Free State Project. It corresponds with Drake's paperwork intel from a few months ago. This is real, and now I know it. And that's a great confirmation of it. Those are his exact words. Angel Arias.
Here you go, guys.
Yay! Okay. Thank you, Grammy. Thank you for bringing that in. And thank you, Angel.
You're welcome.
For sharing that with us. Okay, next one is, hello, I have a question for Drake regarding visualizations. I'm an artist and I find that I am able to focus and imagine better when I draw. It is more potent, is it more potent, to visualize the reality that I prefer in the way?
When you listen to these little infomercials or these interviews, and you'll find that you retain a certain amount of it. If you listen to it intently and take notes during the presentation, you'll remember almost twice as much. If you take something that you visualize and make a simple sketch of it, pencil and paper is all you need. What would I like to see me doing? What would I like to see happening? Designate certain things in it as having a value of some sort to you. And you'll find that these things are much easier, much more easily realized and much more powerful or potent, as was stated, than simple visualization alone. Next.
Okay, because then they continued on. Previously, I have used have been able to do it via meditation, but I find that I'm unable to focus as clearly as when I visualize. And they were asking to compare visualization to meditation.
Visualization, meditation is a different sort of visualization. It is a similar thing, but not the same. Visualization is where you actually get a picture of whatever it is that you're looking to accomplish, be involved in, or take part of, and it can be pretty much anything. And as I stated, start out simple. When you see the simple changes start happening and the visualization works, then move on to a little bit more. Just move up the scale slowly till you get to the big ones. And you'll find out the reality of it as you go. Next.
Okay, the next question is, what can you tell us about meditation and how to apply this skill? The reason I ask is that there are many theories as to how to utilize our chakras.
Okay, look up Transcendentalism online. There are several major websites that deal primarily in instructing and explaining and definition of not only what it is, what it does, and how to use it, but what you can gain from it. Okay?
Okay, and I missed the last part of that question, using our chakras in conjunction with Kundalini and Prana.
Hold on a minute. You're going to find that the better balanced, adjusted, and aware you are in terms of spirituality, the better your individual energy centers, known as chakras, are going to be. They're going to be better aligned, and you will be a not only more spiritually powerful individual, you will also find that the peace, joy, love, happiness, and all that has a tendency to follow that sort of thing around. In other words, it takes the angst and the BS and the hurry up and get her done problems of every day out of the picture. Actually, it's part of a relaxation therapy that a lot of people are familiar with. So, there you go.
Drake, do you agree on the theory when meditating to never allow light from outside to enter our body?
Well, it depends on whether or not you're in a dark room, I guess. The light from outside is not bad for you necessarily. It depends on what it is. The ideology of the new light bulb is a bad one because that particular type of energy is not something that is good for you. That's why a lot of people took issue with going away from standard light bulb. The incandescent light bulb, however, does use more power. And one of the problems that is coming up is that our use of power is outstripping the capability or infrastructure, known as the grid, just to provide it. Then you got people that think they know everything closing down coal plants. In the near future, we won't have to worry about these things. So bear that in mind. Next.
Okay. Drake, is St. Germain's mantra of the violet flame a safe or good practice to assist in ascension?
You can learn a lot about it, but it is not something that is directly dealing with the ascension itself. The ascension itself is an event that stands alone in its awesomeness in what it does. There are a great many things about St. Germain that people do not understand, that being one of them. It takes a great deal of research to find out exactly what that deals with and what you're doing in regards to it, okay?
Okay. All right. My question is for Drake. Why do we allow I don't think it says why do you allow, but I think it's why do we allow the Rockefellers, Rothschilds, and other psychopaths and parasites and useless eaters to steal other nations' gold like Libya, and now they are going for Syria's gold too.
That's part of the reason we're taking the financial capability away from them, because they got the credit card and they're not playing nice. Next question.
Okay, I have a question for Drake. I believe the U.S. will not be the first nation to come to the forefront with disclosure. Instead, it will be China. Do you have any input or info regarding this matter? Our government does not want to give up their control.
That control is going to be taken away from them, to answer the question backwards. And disclosure is going to happen worldwide. It's not just a singular event in one particular country. Some of these countries have better capabilities of disseminating the information than others, so that will probably be part of where some of this starts. And you have to remember that even though the advanced technologies are there, you got to have somebody build these things, you got to have them put together, you got to have them shipped, etc. So you're talking about a rather complex deal, not something as simple as what you've described. Okay?
Okay. All right. Drake, have you heard that Bill Woods was rearrested again this week, and do you have any statement on his possible credibility?
I'm not going to touch that with a 10-foot pole. I didn't know he'd been arrested because I don't follow him around. Next.
Okay. All right. All right, I have to scroll. I'm in my Skype window. Many common law courts exist now that have been formed by the people, like the militias. Not all are up to snuff. Will there be a process to incorporate the good ones from the bad ones?
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be incorporated, though. It's going to probably be a strict justice center, and it will meet justice according to the premise of common law, and heading to that, the discernment of the judge himself. There's a lot of things that go into this. The idea of absolute sentencing and other requirements are going to go down the tubes. Next. Okay.
It was prefaced with a statement, too. Some of these courts seem to have sizable judgments against major banks and governments, and under the current system, they are near impossible to enforce. Okay.
Hold on a minute. Those things can be enforceable if they're done correctly. Even though the paperwork's done to the point where you get a judgment, does not necessarily mean you have the right to that judgment from your standpoint. The difference is this: if you have the right to the original collateral whereby the wealth was created or borrowed from, then you have the right to enforce. That's the trick. This is why Neil Keenan's cases and liens and things of that nature are of such great importance.
Okay. All right. It was mentioned that veterans may be being harassed because they know too much. Many people know too much. Will the millions of non-disclosure agreements, NDAs, that the military, governments, and corporations have forced people to sign be declared null and void, and will the National Archives be made available so that true history can be written?
Absolutely. We're going to take care of a whole bunch of problems. One of those being that governments put the troops in harm's way. Then when they come back, they deny them treatment for the problem that they knew existed anyway. And then they have the audacity to label them traitors and treasonous nut cases with guns and incarcerate them for the fun of it. I think that the fun ought to be turned around, in my particular opinion. Next.
Okay. Will the corporate prison system be taken down and punished, and will their employees be investigated?
Absolutely.
Okay. Will judges and prosecutors be indicted for the multiple injustices they have perpetrated? Same for the police, especially the execution or SWAT teams. Will the trainers of such people also be indicted?
Everybody and their mother-in-law closely associated with the problems are going to be taken care of in one form or another. Next.
Okay. Thomas Jefferson, along with James Madison, worked to have the 11th Amendment included into our nation's original Bill of Rights. This proposed amendment would have prohibited monopolies in commerce. The amendment would have made it illegal for corporations to own other corporations or to give money to politicians or to otherwise try to influence elections. Okay, hold on, it goes on. Corporations would be chartered by the states for the primary purpose of serving the public good. Corporations could possess the legal status not of natural persons but rather of artificial persons. This means that they would not only this means that they would have only those legal attributes which the state saw fit to grant to them. They would not, and indeed could not, possess the same bundle of rights, oh my gosh, this is long, which actual flesh and blood persons enjoy. Under this proposed amendment, neither the 14th Amendment of the Constitution nor any provision of the document would protect the artificial entities known as corporations. Okay, hold on just a minute. I think we're getting to the question. Jefferson and Madison were so insistent upon this amendment because the American Revolution was a substantial degree a revolt against the domination of colonial economic and political life by the greatest multinational corporation of its age, the British East India Company. Will the 11th Amendment be included?
Anything that to include the 11th Amendment that has a tendency to keep the same problem we got now going is going to be made null and void, and or the portions that allow that. Now, some portions of certain amendments are good, while other portions suck badly. We can adjust that. What we're doing is trying to first start with a base document. Everything is open to amendment or change. Now, I want everybody to understand that, including our Constitution, Bill of Rights, etc. And these changes may be something that can be put together in such a fashion that we end up with a truly sovereign document that cannot be messed with, period. So you're going to have to include definitions. You're going to have to include the origins of those definitions, and you're going to have to make sure that it is in plain English, not legal speak or something normal don't understand. So go from there.
Okay, are you there, Drake?
Yeah, I'm here. I don't know what that beep was.
I don't either. Okay, I was afraid I got disconnected or something. Okay, chat question for Drake. Are the British government's threat to the Ecuador embassy really to get Assange or the other important witnesses in there that could bring down present and past PMs?
There's several things involved in that. Number one is that if you violate the grounds of an embassy on an official basis by the hosting government, you have basically declared war against that country. Whether anybody really likes that or not is not my problem. That's the way the law is based. Okay. Number two, that country that you have violated then has a combination of authority to cause the offending country innumerable problems. In other words, the same kinds of problems that everybody's causing Iran can be had against a country that does this sort of thing as a penalty. Now, the other part is that they can lose diplomatic relations with the country involved. Number three, they can go in, that country that has been violated can send a military emissary to collect each and every last person that worked there or was on the grounds at the time of the offense. And this is supposed to be a requirement that they heave up these people and in all records, etc. Then if the country that was attacked decides to do so, they can reaffirm at a later date relations in terms of embassies. But that's a real stick wicket that they do not want to get into. In other words, if there's somebody in there that is Chinese, they declared war against China or Russia or whomever all might be in there. I don't really know, but as age, you have to understand there's two things going on. The government didn't like it. Number two, the reality of what those documents show is a mess that needed to be cleaned up. That includes the removal of personnel. That includes the adjudication of some of them for violations of a variety of different laws, and it also shows that secret governments do secret things in secret because they don't want nobody to know what's going on. Not that somebody can counter a maneuver or counter an action, but that they simply do not want you to know what's going on. That is one of the main issues in terms of freedom and an open government, okay?
Okay. Okay, Drake, I'm very worried that we aren't hearing anything regarding Monsanto. Is he being told that we need them to feed the planet? What's up with this? Something doesn't smell right for me at all, not at all.
Well, Monsanto don't smell right to start with. I don't trust somebody that kills people just because they thought it was funny not to turn a safety device on. I further don't trust people that make GMO foods that will kill you and tell you it's good for you. So I'd say Monsanto is pretty dirty. It needs to be put on spin cycle. And I would suggest that we not only do away with it, but we also prosecute those people who have been an integral part of it. Does not necessarily mean the chemists, engineers, people that actually worked on the projects. A lot of that information could be used in the medical fields to help people. And if that were the case, then they switch it over, then Monsanto would probably go a long way to helping their situation. However, right now they're thumbing their nose at anybody and everybody who says no, to include farmers. Yeah, that's right. They're using intimidation against local farmers who don't use their products.
They're poisons.
Then you've got the other part where their chemicals are not good. I'm going to suggest that nobody, and I mean this literally, nobody use a product called Roundup.
That's now
I'll tell you why.
Yeah.
I got Roundup dumped on me. It's called Agent Orange. They used it in Vietnam. The government just decided that they would clean up one small area, and it's $35 million worth, or give or take, $350 million, I forget exactly. This is in the news recently. This stuff creates, in all living organisms, to include plants, genetic abnormalities that can kill. It's like the thalidomide babies. Same sort of reaction. Same problem we got with the people coming back from Iraq and Afghanistan right now who are exposed to depleted uranium. Well, depleted don't mean it ain't radioactive. So if you're sitting on an animal box and you can hear my voice, get your butt up off of there. You're toasting your cookies, dude. Real simple. You don't want to have people, you don't want to have your offspring come out looking funny. I would suggest you stay away from it. I would suggest that the military knows about this and should be prosecuted for using it. And I mean prosecuted as a criminal offense, not just as some kind of, oh, we're sorry, we didn't mean it. They've been playing that game for years. Next.
Yeah. Okay. An announcement from Lindsey Williams, he gets insider information directly from the elites, supposedly, that Raytheon has been notified to prepare for immediate shutdown of the U.S. government. Lindsey has never been wrong yet in his intel. And there was something about no more printing. Your take on this?
Well, it's not my take. The fact of the matter is this. This year, the Federal Reserve System runs out of its charter to print money. That's pretty obvious. Number two, all of the major corporations, not just Raytheon, but all of the major corporations have been told that the shutdown of the federal government is imminent because we're winning. Think about that real close. They did not expect the number of people to start taking issue with, well, they said it ain't right now, and then they show this one over here shows that there, and then, my goodness, it's wrote in the Constitution. I ain't going to have a driver's license, or whatever the issue is. Pick one. Don't matter. There's tons of them out there. Raytheon is a good company, and they do a lot of the high-level security work for the government. Those would be the entities that would be warned first. Now, the takedown deals directly with the central banking system. When that goes, all the government money is in limbo until it's executed otherwise. Now, that's an execution of an agreement between whatever. There are several people involved in that. I won't go into it, but that basically is going to be executed at the same time that these people lose their capability and power. The Treasury is supposed to be put into place as it was originally designed to do and control the currency. Then you have a strict government agency taking care of it, not a private enterprise that's charging the government interest, but something that is above board. Now, there's a whole bunch in that, and everybody needs to really think about what I just said. This is not a very simplistic kind of thing, but a very complex one. And yes, it's correct, and yes, his information is right. So go from there.
Okay, I apologize. I had to mute myself out. One of those crotch rocket motorcycles went by, and my dogs and cats and everybody are going nuts. I apologize. Okay, and the other question was, is Lindsey Williams credible?
Yes.
Okay. All right. That was all the questions I had from the chat and the email. So with that, we'll take a couple callers. We have about 10 minutes left, and we may need to go into a little overtime to get these last few questions answered again. We have Rob from Melbourne.
Hello.
Rob. Hi, Rob.
Hi, how you doing, Drake? Hey, learned a new tool to help us in the battle for the local fight, like city council on up to mayor. There's a fellow named Jerry Day at freedomtaker.com, and he talks about the CAFR, the Comprehensive Annual Financial Report. I guess that's supposed to be like the second set of books that they don't want anybody to understand, and he says that's where you can find out where the dirty politicians get their money. So when we do our local thing, that's the documents we want to request, and I just thought I'd throw that out there.
I appreciate that. Everybody hear that, I hope, because that's exactly where it's at. And that's why I put that on the website. That's why I addressed it. Now, you got it going on in Australia. Now, if you go on there, it can go on here. You know, pick a place and apply it. This stuff is basic, and it works everywhere. Next.
Thank you, Rob. Okay, let's see. We have Kari in California. Kari, you're live.
Hey, everybody. Drake, I think you're dynamite. So are you, Rick, and everybody else. My heart goes out to the Dyer family, and whatever we can do to help get their son out of prison, I think we should all do. And excuse me. It's terrible to hear that people are being persecuted for their beliefs and for standing up for their rights. And this, I really hope that. I'm sorry, Denise.
Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
I really hope that they are ashamed of themselves for doing this.
Did you have a question, Kari?
No, that's what I wanted to say, and just God be with everybody in the fight, in this fight for freedom.
Thank you, Kari. Thank you. Appreciate it, honey.
Thank you, sister.
Now, everybody take note of this.
Excuse me.
I'm going to throw this in. Everybody take note of this. If you're in a situation and it gets rectified, prosecute them suckers. You've got the way, you got the manner in which to do so listed on the website. You can object through an affidavit. And when you have the specifications of the court record as to what these people have done, you can also make complaints. The Federal Trade Commission doesn't like people screwing with people in terms of business. There are several forms of things that can be used. The Attorney General can investigate judges and lawyers. Lawyers have judicial review boards that they have to answer to. So there's a variety of things that can be done. So think about that. Next.
Okay, let's see. All right, we already answered Rob in Melbourne. Okay, area code 443, you're live.
Drake, thank you and everyone for what you're doing. What I'd like to ask is, I live in the state of Maryland, and you said last week that in your jurisdiction, I think it's West Virginia or something, that you could do arrests or citizens arrests or something like that. And I have in the state of New York a security certificate where they train you how to do citizens arrests from like years ago. But I was interested in trying to help and wanted to know in the state of Maryland if you needed people like citizens or so forth and so on. Where I know a lot of people, all different types of people that are like crazy enough to do a lot of bad things or whatever. So I wanted to know if there is in this jurisdiction close to I don't know, DC, whatever. How does that work?
Well, being in the local jurisdiction is what's required. The reason being is that you use the office of the local sheriff and the local FBI, and they got to be clean. If you're not clean, you're going to end up getting stonewalled. But if the people are of like mind, that they would like to have their reputations back as good guys like they're supposed to have, then their actions would tend to prove this. Specifically, if there are open questions that can be proved, and the evidence is simple. A guy at 35 grand can't afford a mansion and new cars. So it's pretty obvious. So, you look at things that way. You look to find what the dirt is on an individual. There's a lot of research involved. In terms of getting a group together, find some people that have taken objection and see if you can contact them if they still live in the area. This sort of thing. That
My
can work
question is
well.
Jurisdiction, though. Like, is Maryland consist of like Rockville, Bethesda? This is where a lot of these people live. Like Bethesda.
Well, it depends on what county you're in as to the sheriff used. It depends on whether or not they are within a jurisdiction where you personally or an individual personally can charge them. If they're traveling through and you have a warrant for their arrest and you know they're coming and you can get the sheriff to stop them, you got them. The transport of that individual needs to be done by the FBI so that there's no questions. Okay, and there's a bunch of other things that goes into this. It's not real simple, but it's not overly complicated. But you're going to have officials who are willing to stand up against the system. That's difficult to find. So you have to kind of play it by ear and go from there. Okay?
Okay, but is the jurisdiction consist of that area, or does it have to be? I live in Baltimore City, but it's in Maryland. Can I go all the way down to Rockville?
What county is it in?
It's a city.
Is it in a county?
Okay. No,
you have to have a county. I'm sorry, but you can't. You can't have something separate than a county. Now, if you're in a position where it ain't.
I have friends in Rockville.
If you're in the District of Columbia, you're in a foreign country, and you got to play by their laws. Outside of that, you play. Listen to me very carefully.
Sir.
Outside of that, you play by the law that is the law of the land. Within your county, your sheriff. Within their county, their sheriff. And that's the way it works. You have to have a complaint from the county where they're at. In other words, Rockefeller visits the county I'm in. It's already set to arrest the dink as soon as we can capture him. At that point, we're going to contact people so that we can have a true federal law enforcement officer complete the movement of that individual so that we don't violate any laws in the process. Thereby, we're squeaky clean and that person's dirty. If you don't go about this that way, you're going to cause problems. Not only just for everybody involved. So you got to play it specifically by the rules, and those have been stated.
So I'm only working with Baltimore City, then, is what you're saying?
Whatever county you're in, you got to be in a county. It can be a city.
Every city is in a county.
Yeah,
Find out who your sheriff is.
It can be a city-county relationship, but it's always within a county, and there is always a chief law enforcement officer known as the sheriff. Period.
Okay, thank you, caller. Thank you very much, caller. Okay, Drake, we've got about 4.5, 5 minutes left. We have a couple more callers. I think we'll take one more and then have a quick closing statement, and we can maybe answer the rest of the questions off air in archive. Okay, we have Pots and Pan Stan. Pots and Pan Stan, you're live.
Hey, thank you for taking my call. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
All right. Well, I'm just driving away from a Walmart, and boy, those prices are getting more expensive. Hey, Drake, you mentioned about Democrats, Republicans, North versus South. Can you explain to the people out there about the Hegelian dialect, please?
I'd rather not go into the dialect a whole lot. I can just say this, that there ain't much difference between North, South, East, West. We're all American, first. Number two, there ain't any difference between political parties. They're looking to have a party at our expense, period. It don't matter who gets into office. Things have already been shown as to what they are, so you can go from there. Which crook do you want? What's the lesser of the two evils? These are the choices that are left to us, and personally, I don't believe that's much of a choice. So I'm inclined to lean towards total independence. And
cleaning house.
All right. So it's kind of like the New York Yankees and how they buy their team. The politics are pretty much bought into.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, thanks, you guys. Keep up the good work. God bless you.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you. Okay, Drake, we have 4 or 5 more callers, but we're going to have to go into overtime for those. Closing statements from Minuteman?
Yes, folks. Hey, look, don't let your veterans down. Please remember to email the Rutherford Institute on Charles Dyer's behalf. We've got a few other veterans that's been named. Don't forget them, too. And, well, hey, bless y'all. Y'all have a good one. We'll talk to y'all Wednesday.
Okay. Grammy, did you have a closing statement?
Yes, I would like to say may the Great Spirit bless you and your loved ones and our planet and beyond.
Okay. Drake?
Well, yeah.
How do I know what you're going to say?
I usually tell everybody get her done. And to do that in specific ways. We need to be careful about how we go about this. Be aware that great events are beginning to get ready to formulate, take shape, and impact everybody. So anybody that's just listening for the first time, anybody that doesn't know, you might want to do your homework, look it up on the Internet. You might want to try to find as much as you can out about what it takes to get this thing accomplished. Okay?
And
Okay. Thank
Paul
you.
Diener wants to say something, Denise.
Okay. Paul?
Hi, I'm here. This will only take a second. Everybody listening to this show, do not wait until you have to defend your freedom before you learn how to answer questions from police, how to identify yourself or not identify yourself in court, how to draft court documents and file affidavits, how not to consent to their control. Do your homework now before you find trouble at your door. Chances are really good they won't even get through it if you do. Do your homework now. Don't wait until you have a 30-year sentence you're trying to get out from under.
Oh, well said.
Amen, brother. That's good
well
advice.
said.
Thank you. Thank you, Paul. Thank you. Okay, and we're if everybody can stay with us, we're going to go into overtime. Paul, they can join and continue to listen live, right, over on Spreaker?
Yep, it's still up.
Okay. If somebody will please post that connection on the Facebook page for me so that people can continue to listen.
Just go to radio.globalvoiceradio.net and click on the live button.
Okay. Thank you, Paul. And we will continue, and for those of you who cannot continue on with us, we will see you on our next program on Wednesday. And thank you. Okay, we are in overtime. And punt. Okay, let's see. All right, we have Peter in Florida. Peter, you're live.
Hi. I was listening to the Dyer family story, and I was trying to find out what would be the best contact to get in touch with their family to help them out.
Oh, thank you.
Helping finance, yeah.
Well, we'll go ahead and we will post something if you're in the Global Voice group, and if not, email Denise, and we'll provide her with that information, my friend, and thank you.
If you're not a member of the Global Voice on Facebook, you would email us at freepeople@gmail.com.
Okay.
And that way we will, and just put in the topic, Chris Dyer, or Charles Dyer, excuse me.
Yeah, Charles
I'm looking
Dyer.
at the name. I'm looking at the name Chris on the board here. I'm sorry. And to put the name Charles Dyer, and we will send you the information, sir.
Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah. Okay. We could get something pretty soon, so this will go pretty quickly to them. Okay.
Thank you, Peter. We really appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right. Thank you.
Okay, we have Bill from Texas. Bill, you're live.
Thank you. The first thing I want to know is we would like to meet with Minuteman, a few of us, and I'd like to know how I can contact him. I'd like to have his phone number if possible.
You bet you. We'll make that arrangement, my friend.
Okay, do you need my email or my phone number?
Are you in the Global Voice group in Facebook or on Facebook?
I have no idea. I'm not a computer whiz. I can barely get emails.
Okay, I'll tell you what, Mr. Bill, so it won't go out to everybody on recording.
Mr. Bill, you got a pencil?
Yes.
You ready for this telephone number?
Yes.
We are on the air.
We are on the air.
That's all right. That's my telephone number's never been a secret. It's always been available for anybody that needs it.
Okay.
It's area code 830.
830.
591.
591.
3177.
3177. Thank you very much. Well, I will contact you.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Bill.
My second question is, I'm a retired Army vet, and right out of the clear blue sky, the IRS decided they needed 3/4 of my retirement pay every month with no nothing. They didn't send me anything, tell me anything. No due process of law at all. So I read the insurrection law, and I think it would be a good idea to use it. Now, I noticed that we had some paperwork on one of the sites, but I don't know how to get to the site, and I don't know how to get to the paperwork. Can anybody explain it to me?
Go ahead, Denise.
Explain the insurrection?
No.
Well, I've got the insurrection. I don't have any problem at all reading it, understanding it, or anything else. But Drake said there were some forms you fill out.
Yeah, you're going to have to use it correctly. The best thing, you're going to have to supply affidavits. That's one of the things. In terms of the IRS, they're not allowed to take any actions against an individual without notifying that individual as to what the problem is first. Number two, they have to qualify that. And number three, if you'd like, you can probably take them to court and put a quash on what they're doing.
Okay, well, there was no due process of law here whatsoever. I mean, this was right out of the clear blue sky. I get a letter.
Well, this is what I'm trying to say. They're not allowed to do that. Did they say in the letter what the problem was?
No, they sent a notice of levy to the Department of Finance, U.S. Army, and the U.S. Army is taking what they told them. Period. That's it.
Okay, well, what you want to do is everybody involved in that, the attorney, I'm trying to think of this. JAG, Judge Advocate General, contact those people, tell them that you don't know what's going on and you'd like to have an explanation and you'd like to have the monies returned that they have apparently stolen from you, and see what the attorney, Judge Advocate General has to say about that. You can file complaints with a whole lot of people, but I would start there first because it's a combination of the IRS and the military. Now, the military has to be served with warranted reasons for doing so. They are required, when you're on pension, to explain those things to you, whether they like it or not. You can hold everybody responsible for no notification, for one, and number two, if it's if it's not qualified as something that they should be doing, then you can actually prosecute them for damages and things of this nature. So you need to talk to the Judge Advocate General's office. That's a military legal branch. They can explain things to you a lot better. Okay?
Okay, well, I was looking at the Insurrection Act, and that looks to me like the best way to put an end to all of it.
Well, we could, yes, but I would address your personal concerns first so that you're in a better position to attend to it. See what I'm saying?
Interject something?
Go ahead.
In some cases, under certain circumstances, by act of Congress, the IRS has been given the authority to notify employers, all employers, of notice of levy and order them to immediately withhold if they believe that the levy is collecting the judgment, and the important thing is the judgment is in jeopardy. They can start proceedings immediately without having the official documentation to do it. That was by act of Congress.
I understand that. The problem is that they are required to notify the individual as to what's going on, period.
Right, and if they have not done that, then
they got a problem, and that's what I just told the guy. You contact the Judge Advocate General's office because they are a legal arm of the military forces. What their job is to rectify problems. Bingo.
Well, another key thing about that is if he's an Army retirement, then they have no case for filing that paperwork prematurely, none whatsoever, unless, of course, they think the federal government is going to change their bank account numbers and renege on their debts.
I wouldn't worry about that part of it. I would contact the Judge Advocate General's office, find out what's going on. They will be able to tell you. Tell them that you don't know squat. You'd like to have the money back, or some kind of answers, and you don't know what to do. And they'll take it from there. I can say this is not uncommon. So, understand that as well.
Their premature action was not warranted, and he should know that right off the bat. They had absolutely they were in no jeopardy of not being able to file that judgment. None. So they cannot fall back on that.
Well, not only that, but a 668W does not apply to me because I'm not a government employee. I'm not an officer. I'm not a corporation.
Get in touch with the Judge Advocate General. This sounds like this ought to be really something for Saturday Night Live.
This ought to be a good one. Yeah, keep us posted, Mr. Bill.
Yeah, please do.
I'll tell you what the Department of Defense representative told me. The IRS sent it to me, and we're going to honor it.
Well, then he's also can be held as a defendant. And
well,
maybe you can get right in his pocket, garnish his wages, and see how he likes it.
Right. I got their name and everything. I've recorded it all.
Okay, what you want to do is get in touch with the Judge Advocate General.
But I looked at the Insurrection Act, and I said, I fit right into this category. I think it's Section 2 of it. And I said, now I need to fill out the paperwork.
This is going to be a lot of fun. Just don't lose our phone number.
Before you take that level of action, first go through the Judge Advocate General's deal. They take a couple of weeks, but they're very thorough, and they're there at our disposal. If you're retired military, that's our legal arm. So that's my recommendation. First of all, then let me know how that goes, and we'll go from there.
Okay, who am I talking to that I need to let know?
Drake.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you,
You
Drake.
don't sound like Drake.
Thank you. Go ahead, Bill. Go ahead, Bill.
You don't sound like Drake over the phone. Okay, Drake, I'll
that.
keep in contact with you. I did 2 tours in Vietnam, one of them at the same time you were there.
Okay, then we're both in the same, we cheated some of the same dirt then.
Yeah, I was there during TAT.
There you go. So,
okay,
let me know
Bill,
if anybody that's got legal problems and they're in the military, go through the Judge Advocate General's office.
Well,
I don't care if you're presently serving or you're reserve, it don't matter.
Okay.
That's our legal arm. Use
the closest JAG I have here is Air Force Base. I guess I can use him.
It doesn't matter. Just get a hold of them and let them know you got a problem and you like to know what to do about it.
Okay.
Okay,
just,
Bill,
tell them you don't really know what's going on, but you'd like to have your money. Go from there.
Okay.
Bill, keep us posted at onefreepeople@gmail.com. O-N-E.
I got it down. Onefreepeople.com.
@gmail.com. Yep. Okay. Thank you, Bill.
Thank you, guys.
Appreciate. Thank
You're
you, Bill.
welcome.
God bless. Okay. Boy, he's got an interesting situation, doesn't he? Okay.
That sounds like it's going to be fun.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, we have Chris from Atlanta. Chris, you're live.
Hey, thank you guys for all you do. I typically listen on the recording a few days later. I don't get to listen live very often. Can you guys hear me okay?
We can hear you fine.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay, good. This is kind of a spiritual question, I think, more than anything. Drake talks a lot about the 4th and 5th dimensions coming. My father passed in December. My father was an atheist, and since I always joked with him. I've always been a spiritual person, and I always joked with him when he got to the other side. I wanted him to let me know that he had made it, and since he died in December, a door is kind of opened for me, and I see different. I'm 50 years old. I don't do drugs. I'm not crazy, but I see these. At night when I go to bed, I see these entities. Some of them are kind of wispy, like a smoke. Others are like geometric shapes. And then I also have seen angels. And about 2 weeks ago, my wife and children were out of town, and they actually asked me to go with them. And I told them I couldn't because I had 2 adopted children to raise. But I'm just wondering, is this ET, or is this another dimension that I'm seeing, or do y'all even know what the heck I'm talking about?
Drake, are you there?
It's a combination of things. It's not simply put. You can call it angels. You can call it ghosts. You can call it ETs. Pick one. The best way to look at it is that there is probably an attempt being made by your father to get what's called a direct contact.
Absolutely.
Irrespective.
Well, and I've seen him, and I've seen him.
Hold on a minute.
But I'm also okay.
This is going to get better. The ascension process is not going to be the, quote, rapture everybody would like to think it is, much as that may go against people's grain. What's going to happen is that the whole of the earth and everything on it, including all of us, are going from this to the next step. And I'm hoping that happens in the next couple days. I'd love to see that, but irrespective, we're going. Okay, you got to remember the other side. You go through a learning process, then you go to the next level. We're going to go through a combination learning process that only takes about a month, and this is a general idea as to our timelines. And in the process, a lot of the loved ones are in 4D and 5D. So, there's going to be a whole lot of family reunions from what I understand. So be prepared for that. And
well, I can tell you, there's one in my bedroom about every night. Sometimes it's only a couple.
You can tease him about it when you get there. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, sometimes it's only a couple, and sometimes I've got a room full. Sometimes they write on the walls. I can't read it. I've taken to wearing my glasses at night to try to read it. And you know, parts of me feel like I'm going absolutely nuts, but I know I'm not. And last night an angel came and sat on my bed for about an hour, and we just stared at each other. And I talk to him and I tell him to come closer. And the angels are absolutely beautiful. They're small. I almost thought, well, maybe it's a fairy, not an angel. You know, from you know, because all the stories you read about when you're a kid. But I can tell you, I have no fear of death anymore because I know my spirit is going to move on to this next dimension. Maybe I don't have to die to go to that next dimension. I don't know, but and I try to communicate with them, but I don't seem to be able to yet, except for the one time. And they asked me telepathic. It wasn't a verbal communication that they wanted me to go with them. It was just, I just somehow had an understanding that they were wanting me to go, and I just told them flat out, I can't go right now. I have children. My kids are 8 and 5 years old, and I got to stay with them right now.
Well, don't worry about it.
Okay.
Don't worry about it.
Is there anything
Everybody's
I can
going.
do to open more communication?
Well, not really. You have to be pretty well advanced. I'm just at the point where I'm beginning to be able to do this real clearly, and it's not. Telepathy is twofold. You can communicate in language if you are of the same dimension and if you are of the same language. In terms of communication, you have to remember that it is your mind communicating with another, which is a different deal. Your mind does not communicate in the English language with itself. So therefore, until we go to that next adventure into the fourth dimension, communication may be a problem. All you have to do is tell them that you know, you're getting ready to come there anyway. So, you know, they're just going to have to hold their water or whatever and be patient with you. That's all there is to it. Just everybody needs to be patient. This is all coming. The truth in absolute form is going to be coming out, whether it agrees with somebody's ideas about it or not.
Well, I would also be curious if there was anyone.
Each individual will have the choice whether they want to participate or not. As part of the free will, I explained that God grants us. Therefore, you have a choice. Do you want to fly around as an angel? I think that sounds pretty cool to me. I've bumped my butt on this planet in our condition long enough the way I see it. So I'm looking forward to it. So just tell them, you know, pretty soon we'll be able to talk, and just leave it at that. The visits may continue, depending on you know, probably your father. Your father probably has made a lot of friends, and they're probably trying to visit or going to visit me. He says, "This is my son, and whom I am well pleased." The only trouble is we can't talk. He can't hear me. You know, stuff like that. So it'll get better as it goes along, believe me.
Chris, I'd like to thank you. Chris, I'd like to thank you, honey, but we have other callers that are waiting, and we try to limit it. Okay, honey. Thank you so very much.
Thanks for all you guys do. Yep, I listen every week. I listen both shows every week to the shows in their entirety, and I'm excited about everything that's happening, and thank you for all you do.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you so much. Okay, all right. We have Donna Joe in Texas. Donna, you're live.
Yes, Drake, would you give a thumbs up or thumbs down on C.S. Lewis' Space Trilogy?
Well, what do you mean? I mean, it's there's some truth in a lot of that stuff, and there's also some that's not correct or might be a fabrication of Hollywood. So. And or the imagination of the writer, whether or not that person understands what they're getting in the way of information is difficult at best. I can tell you that from my own personal experience of trying to write things down. So yes and no, both at the same time.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you, Donna Jo. Okay. I will ask our callers if we've answered your question, to please hit the number 1 on your keypad to lower your hand. Okay. We have Matthew in Georgia. Matthew, you are live.
Hello, guys. How y'all doing today?
Good.
Fine. Thank you, sir.
All right. I was just wanting to know if there's been any progress on releasing Bradley Manning.
As to what?
As far as if anybody's still working to try to release him, to get him released.
Are you talking about the fella up in West Virginia?
I'm talking about the guy. I'm not sure exactly where he was from, but he's been in jail for quite some time. I think it's come to about 2 years now.
Well, what you got to remember is 2 things, okay? We can affect some things. Presently, right now, Minuteman has been instrumental in doing a lot of that. A lot of other people have stepped up to the plate and helped. And in those cases where if there is direct help that's available, then that's being done. A lot of this is going to be changed as we change our system. In other words, a lot of people that are put into prison on bogus charges or something where they should have maybe paid some money to somebody that they damaged or caused problems with, those things will come out at the end of this or the conclusion of this freedom effort. That's supposed to be taking place long before the elections. I want everybody to realize that. This was in the original plan that I read, as well as some of the things that have gone on that I can't talk about. The gist of it is this. Some cases that are prevalent and open to this day in terms of questions, and I'm talking about by the legal authorities, did I do that really right? That sort of thing. These things can be addressed. The others that have been, quote, done with for a while, these people are going to probably end up another month or 2 or so, whatever it takes, being incarcerated, but they will be released. A lot of the people that have been falsely accused will have the right then to go back to the people that did it to them and demand some form of justice. What that's exactly going to be, I'm not sure. We'll have to wait and see. Okay?
Well, I just want to thank all of you guys for your hard work and your efforts to obtain our freedom back from these evil people.
You're very welcome.
Thank you, Matthew.
Yeah. All right, you guys have a good one.
Thank you for being shoulder to shoulder with us in this.
I got y'all 6, okay?
Okay, thanks, Matthew. All right, we have, let's see, we have Marianne in California. Marianne, you're live.
Hi, Drake and everybody. I wanted to ask, are the people, like the people that are doing this against us, the Bilderbergers and the bankers and everything, are they human or are they from a different planet?
I've been asked that before, and from the way they act, I'd say they're probably foreigners from a different planet because they don't seem to like anybody very much. And seeing as how I'm part of the human race, I take issue with that. But anyway, a lot of those things are going to come out soon. I'm not going to go into it in great depth because it doesn't need to be done at this point. A little bit down the road, you're going to find that all of these things are going to go, here it is, this person is such and such, etc. There's a long list. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you, Marianne. Okay, we got two more callers. Drake, we have Patricia in New Jersey. Patricia, you're live.
Yes, how are you?
Good. How are you, Patricia?
I'm glad. Drake, a few weeks ago you talked about a live stream for the convention. And I don't have cable. And I also understand that they're not broadcasting the major networks until the end of the week. So the beginning. I missed completely. Is that live stream going to be on the internet? Is it free? Is it gone or what?
Denise is probably better qualified to answer that than I am. Is that some of the reporters down there are going to be sending video clips and things of this nature, and we're supposed to be able to snatch them and put them on the air. So I guess mainstream media is going to miss the boat. Is that correct, Denise?
More or less, yes. We have 5 or 6 reporters actually there in Tampa. And I'm in direct contact with 2 of them. That would be Joanne Moretti and JoJo Norton. And they are going to be sending audio and video files via email, which we can then go directly, you know, like share them immediately on the Facebook page, or we can actually go live on the radio and, you know, with them over a conference line.
I don't have Facebook.
Oh, you don't have Facebook? Well, honey, I don't know what to tell you.
We can put a link up on our on the web page and cover that, I think. What do you think?
Your web page?
Yeah, I don't see why not. Is there a reason we couldn't, Denise?
No, there isn't a reason. We could put a link or whatever, you know, for the you know, for the RNC, and any contact information that we have, you know, like where you might listen in or look for information on it. You may not get it absolutely positively live, you know, but we will upload it as it comes in as soon as humanly possible.
So in other words, you can't just sit and watch.
Well, you could. You'd have to do it at the computer.
Oh, that's
you'd have to do it at the computer, and right now I don't have from Joanne or anybody that's down there a link or anything where you will be able to watch it absolutely positively live.
Well, we can get the video post. My understanding is that they're going to send us video links, and we'll be able to post those as they come through.
Right.
Are they going to be inside or outside?
Well, some of this might be simply voice transmission. So be prepared.
And they're going to be inside, outside. They're going to be at all different functions. They've got press passes, honey. So they're going to be you know, they're going to be in at some of the functions. They're going to be outside, you know, in some of the rallies and functions, and they'll be covering the ground real well.
Okay.
So
now are these mainstream media or?
No. Well, Joanne Moretti, you've probably heard of the Moretti Report.
No, I haven't.
Okay. Well, Joanne Moretti, she's not mainstream. No.
Okay. You also said that mainstream will be talking the truth.
At one point, they're not going to have any choice, but I wouldn't say that they're going to do that now.
No, right now they're probably anything but.
Okay. Do you know if there's going to be any kind of an upset from these nominations?
That's a good question. We'll be watching to see.
Okay. Is the hurricane going to affect it?
That's a good question, too.
It's a good question. Right now it looks like the hurricane's heading for me, and as soon as we get off the air here, I'm going to have to make a beeline for the store to stock up on water batteries and blah, 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 and start moving my things from my yard that are going to blow all over the place, and battening down the hatches. But right now it looks like it's heading in a westerly direction, and it, well, as of when we went on the air, it was not yet a hurricane. It's still a tropical storm. So anybody's guess there.
So it should miss Tampa.
It should miss Tampa. It looks like it. They may get heavy dumping rains and some flooded streets or something like that, but I don't think it's going to be anything to shut down the convention.
Okay. May I just ask a question about Drake, the fourth and fifth dimension, Drake? You said that we're going to go over. We have a choice. And
we're going anyway. Everything on the planet, the whole solar system is going from 3 to 4 in terms of a level, which is a considerable change. It's not drastic necessarily one way or the other, but if people want to stay in this test program that we got running as far as what we're in right now, and they like the idea of maybe being subject to the same sort of government incursions and that sort of thing that we have now, they're welcome to stay here. If they think that there might be a better deal on the other side, that's their choice. You can stay or go, either way you choose.
Well, the
I don't know of anybody that wouldn't want to be running around with angels. I think that'd be, I got 1,000 million questions. I can imagine everybody else does too.
So there's going to be no...
I'm real curious.
no Republican and Democratic Party or anything like that over there?
Nope.
I'm not sure.
No.
I wouldn't think so. I've never heard of a Republican angel.
We're not even going to have physical bodies?
We're going to retain a good portion of our physicality. Some of the portions of that will change. In other words, they're going to be running everybody through health machines, put you back together so that you get the lifespan you're supposed to have and you are in optimal health. Now, that's
they may have wings and
complex.
Stuff, huh?
That's a complex thing to get into. So you have to kind of wait and see on that. But and that, like I say, you can have choices in this. If you want to be a part of a 3D forever, go for it. If you want to join everybody in 4 or 5, whatever we end up in, then my suggestion is that you make a choice in that direction. It's your decision, though. Totally.
But how do we know what? Don't they give you a preview?
Well, of course. Think about something where your aches and pains go away. Think about having your health restored, and think about a longer lifespan. That goes along with that. Enabled in a position and condition that you are able to do some of the things that you wanted to do and didn't have time for when you was working full time. Now, which one would you choose? That's it's not difficult. I mean, I'm sure that they have ways, at least from what I've been told, to show you what here's where you're at. Would you like to be over here? That's pretty simple.
And those, the angel and the geometric design that gentleman was talking about would be what we would look like?
No, not necessarily. You're going to become more. You're going to become more of a radiant being. In short, the closer you get to the creation, or source, or creator, or God, or whatever you want to call it, the more radiant you become. Some of the angels look like light. Some of them look like a humanoid shape that is made of light. There's a bunch of variation in our ability to comprehend that and what we have now. This is part of the change that's going to be made available. You can stay as you are if you don't feel comfortable going to something new, to the extent that you would put up with this mess we got now, or your arthritis goes away. You basically become a teenager physically again and retain in your mind the things that you've learned over your life, as well as have that same capability of having an extraordinarily active mind and imagination you had when you were a lot younger. To me, I just want to ask a bunch of questions. And in the meantime, I guess I become an angel or something. Now, whether that means you're going to sprout feathers, I don't know. From what I understand, you're not supposed to, but, there's a lot of things in this, and I'm just kind of going along with the flow.
Thank you, Patricia.
I'm sorry.
Oh,
okay.
Go ahead.
That's all right. Is this something that the ETs have announced to you, or how did you have privy to this information?
First of all, I've been studying this stuff. Let's see here. Overall, most of my life, I've experienced a lot of it over most of my life. Then to go the other step further, because of this, and I'm not quite sure why I got chosen or whatever you want to look at that, but they have told me a great deal about what the situation is, how it's going to be. I asked the question.
ET? ETs.
Yeah.
Okay.
And, well, you can call it ETs, you can call it an angel. I mean, like I say, pick something. I'm not going to put I use ET because it's quick. Angel, it applies. So, I'm not real sure how to look at it other than it's going to be a great advantage to each of us. And I'm looking at it as an enjoyable deal. It's the golden age, the wonderful life everybody is supposed to get when they go to heaven, as I understand it. So, it's going to be an improvement. Okay?
Thank you, Patricia. I appreciate all your questions and your call. Thank you so much. Okay, we have Paul in Arizona.
Hey,
Paul,
Drake,
you're
what's
live.
going on? Hey, Drake, what's going on?
Not a lot.
No, those seem like there's a lot.
Depends on who you listen to is what's going on. Go ahead.
I listen to everything and take it all in. As a matter of fact, that leads me to the first point. The date that I was born, I'm actually, according to astrology, is the day of the observer. And since my childhood, I've always questioned everything and never taken anything at face value. But some other background about me is I was also raised with parents that were hyper-religious. And, of course, being that way, they imposed those beliefs on me, and I was in church Sunday morning, Sunday night, church camp, you name it. But what I am seeing here, since I've broken away from that and I've studied the law of attraction and also meditation and other religions, that I think we're all on the same track. Now, what I'm hearing a lot of is some parallels that during my indoctrination into the belief system my parents chose. The book of Revelation has a lot of truths in there, I believe, that parallel a lot with what's going on right now. And I'm totally in the middle, so don't think that I'm going down a religious path or crazy or anything like that. But, they talk about the end times, they talk about the millennium, they talk about the rapture. What I'm tying together here is, this ascension. Could that be what was referenced to by these teachers, as I'll call them, way before their time, trying to explain things to people in a mannerism that they could actually digest? Could these things be what they spoke about, in the book of Revelation? Not to get on a religious kick or anything, because I'm so far from that, it's not even funny. I do believe in source. That's been eating at me for several years, even before I came on board with this. I've just had my eyes open, and as I studied these different philosophies, laws of attraction, Buddhism, all these other things, they're not evil, they're not bad, they're just different ways of looking at it from different cultural standpoints. And I think, wise enough to realize that nobody is right or wrong. It's just different ways of looking at it from different points of view. But like I said, just for my own peace of mind, because every time I hang up from a call here, I hear a little bit that you say about ascension, and I can't help think of maybe that's what they were trying to explain, and the people that were trying to deliver that message took a little bit of that, took it literally, and started running with it, and then it, kind of formed and morphed into whatever religion that supported whatever belief direction that they wanted to steer the people that they were guiding into. Does that make any sense to you? Yeah, that's pretty much the way it is. You also have to remember that they took a lot of poetic license or freedom with the descriptions and explanations. Whether that was fully intentional has been done or not is questionable. Now, if you take into account, and a lot of people need to do this, you can do it online through searching, go and look at what first would be religions, and it'll give you a humongous list. Then go to spiritual understanding, and it'll give you another humongous list. You take the first few of those and compare them, and you'll find that you're looking at Christianity, Catholicism, Buddhism, and all kinds of things all mixed together. And the reason for that is very simple. As I explained to the other lady, it's very difficult to get a clear understanding as to what this is and the differences between what we have now and what's coming. Almost extraordinary as the changes that we're going to make in terms of our freedom in this country. But they're very similar in terms of the extraordinary changes to be made. So everybody has to take that into account.
as I said, you're going to get a little preview. They're going to show you some things, and then you make your decision. And this, I would think, would be the easiest of the ultimate ways to derive the truth as is possible. So you're going to have to kind of wait just like everybody else and see what you think of it and go from there.
Oh, sure. I think I get this whole thing, and like I said, I'm open to all things. I did have one other question for you. I guess a group of individuals. I don't know if you've heard of Esther and Jerry Hicks. Jerry is gone, but she is more or less a person that gets blocks of information from beings that are claimed to be on the other side, and their message is the law of attraction, explaining why you get what you get. Have you ever heard of these folks?
Yes, I have. My choice.
My
choice in the matter was to go to the source, just as it always has been. That's why I deal with the principles that are making things happen here in our country and throughout the world. The other part of it is that if you want to know what is going on, and you're not some kind of wizard at figuring things out, you go to the source. So my first thing was to ask the angels, ETs, whatever you want to call them, what's up? You know, how does this affect me? What's going on? Over the years, I have become more aware as to how things work. I apply them in my own life all the time to see and learn more about them. In that frame of mind, brought me to the understandings that I have given on a couple of shows about spiritualism. The best thing that I can express is that I talk to ETs. Now, you take that for whatever you want. People can call me crazy. I don't care. I have found the angels, ETs, spiritual entities, you know, pick a name, are very forthright in explaining things on a level that we can handle according to our experience. Being that I am advanced in comparison to most human beings in these areas, I get more information. In other words, it's greater detail, it's a little better explanation, and these sorts of things. If an individual wants to find these things, all you got to do is ask. This comes from a principle, and the principle says, ask and you shall receive, knock and it shall be opened unto you. Well, these are principles that are universal. So if you as you exercise these and simply absolutely believe you're going to get an answer, that's how simple it is.
Okay,
right,
Paul,
and okay. All right, well, thank you.
I'm sorry, Paul. We're about ready to run out of overtime, and we've got a couple more callers to take. Thank you. Okay, Jack from Ohio. Jack, you're live?
Yes, I'm live. Thank you for everything. I'm still living. I wanted to ask Drake a question. I want to thank everybody for what you're doing. There's a lot of work that goes into this. Drake, with the counts, are they ready to be sprung or what? Or and how will they be delivered?
The delivery is going to be through foundations primarily, as I understand it, and they're not going to be sprung in terms of totally open because that won't be necessary. What will happen is that you'll have a system similar to the crediting system against the accounts as it is now, so that the market is not screwed up by an extraordinary flood of gold. So the idea is to maintain some sort of basic system in that process without causing chaos, and that's pretty much the crux of it.
Is the accounts all backed by gold or silver or both or what?
There's a combination of wealth in terms of different accounts or different holdings. When I say collateral account, that entails different forms of wealth garnered over ages, and so it can compromise a lot of different things, but all of them are original items, be that gold, silver, works of art, or whatever, that have been valued at certain levels. And There are treasures that have that combination. Some are just simply gold or silver. Some are holdings. There's a variety that's in this, and when you get into all of them. So you're just going to have to we're just going to have to kind of play it by ear, and as to what they comprise, because to me, that part of it is unimportant. So long as we can take and see to the humanitarian needs of people, and I mean all of it, worldwide, then we can foster within just a few months the golden age. I'm looking forward to that, where everybody's got plenty to eat, enough, or they got some place to live that's decent, reasonable clothes to wear, something to do that they like. I mean, it don't get no better than that.
Well, that is the whole key of the whole thing there.
Yep. Exactly.
Thank you, Mr. Jack. We really appreciate your call.
Yeah, we enjoy it, and we'll always stick with you. Okay, thank you very, very much.
Thank you, Jack. God bless you. Okay, one last quick call. Mimo, Baltimore, you're on.
Yes, hello. I had a question about the Blue Ridge Mountains and the underground bases, Fort Meade, and also the asteroid that you said that might be heading towards us.
Yeah. Well, the bases have been pretty much listed online if somebody wants to look. The asteroid should be getting into the news soon. The asteroid's not going to be a problem physically for us. There's not supposed to be very much impact in terms of what it does here at all. It's going to pass by. It's not going to hit us. And we already had its, I don't know what you call it, scout. It was a little bitty when they went by. So, it's on its way. I'd like to be able to see it, because I understand that there's supposed to be some light emanating from it and a few other things. So that would be interesting to watch. But, supposedly it's going to be close enough that we'll be able to see it unless you got cloud cover. Just kind of play it by ear, go from there. Enjoy.
Also, Fort Meade, doesn't that have the biggest computer system from like the 70s, I heard?
Who's that?
He said, doesn't Fort Meade have the largest computer system?
It used to. It doesn't anymore. There's larger ones, all made up of farms of mainframe computers that try to keep track of us. Some of that is partial military or government, and some of it is partial retail investment, so that they can track and see what you want. You'll notice that if you go online, you'll get commercials tailored to your interests, and they'll tell you that. It's pretty simple, pretty obvious. Go from there.
You said the underground bases, a lot of them were cleared, but the Blue Ridge Mountains, I heard that the military has like cities underground that are like, I don't even really know that much about it.
Well, if you go there, you'll find them pretty much empty from what I heard.
Well, once again, thank you so much for everything you and everyone that you're surrounding help, us with.
Thank you, Mimo. We appreciate your call.